The best was Sammy Sosa during that period of time, right? No speed. You're like, wait a minute, Sammy. You were just in a Doublemint commercial
Clearly of English.
where you were fine. You were singing. You were tap dancing. You were like a regular Sammy Davis Jr. Forget about Sosa.
Hey, what do you mean? When he hit 60 home runs 3 straight years?
Yeah,
He was doing interviews every day.
every day.
That was straight English.
All of a sudden, some crusty old senator from Kentucky is asking him, "Well, what about this thing they call the juice there, Sammy?"
No say.
No speak. No say nothing. No say me that.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very special good morning, everybody. Great to have you with us on a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. Jeff DeForest along with Mike Lubie. Lubit's here in South Florida live. And a very special day. I mean, this is really time to whip out the Edwin Hawkins singers, Lubie, and get them going right at the top of the program. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. I don't know that I've seen a more exciting weekend in my 42 years of covering sports here in South Florida. We've had the Dolphins, well, that was about 40 years ago, go to a Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, you can't help but just break out in the chorus. No matter how, slowly you're peeling yourself off the mat today. Because it was just stunning brilliance what took place over the weekend. Lubie, how are you? I mean, you were psychotic yesterday. Two of the most dramatic victories in the history of South Florida sports. The Panthers on Friday night to start things out in what I believe was the most exciting local hockey game involving the Florida Panthers. I mean, even going back to that 96 playoff series, the Bill Lindsay goal and some of the stuff that was happening there. A lot of people would say the signature game so far for the franchise was that game 4, actually, as they were getting swept by Colorado. Imagine the indignity of that the biggest game in franchise history, what was the conclusion of a sweep in the Stanley Cup Final Series as the 3-year-old Panther franchise found itself in the finals, which was surprising considering they had just a bunch of rugrats going out there. It was the year of the rat with the Scott Mellenby thing, and your leader, I mean, it wasn't like you had, one of the greats of all time leading the team. Brian Scrudlin was our spiritual leader, a journeyman's journeyman, if there ever was one. Great guy, and they did it on grit and guts, and it was a fantastic run. But that was the last time we had any kind of a spotlight that shined like this one. And that Friday night game between the Panthers and the Bruins, when the Panthers were able to somehow pull out a miraculous victory, ended up winning at 7-5 with the empty netter at the end. They kept falling behind. And once they went down 5-4 in that game, did you not think the party's over? I mean, it was Don Meredith time. Flowers were in the punch, were they not?
I remember I thought they'd win Friday because I couldn't see them losing every home game.
Yeah.
But once they gave up that lead late, I did not have that same feeling. I was like, there's no way they're winning this game. I'm like, I can't believe fucking Bobrovsky does it again.
Oh, he was a mess in that game. And you were wondering, what the hell did they do in Game 7? Because the Boston Bruins ended up making a change. They took Allmark out. He really lost his whole game in the last couple of games of that series. And the Bruins, the unlikelihood of them losing 3 straight when they hadn't done it all year long was, so strong that you would have to think the statistics certainly were in favor of the Bruins at least rebounding and winning a Game 7. But some exciting stuff all the way around. I thought the Game 6, what really was, the most scintillating Panther hockey game that I've ever seen. You couldn't help but be inspired after that one. You thought whatever happens in Game 7, even if they lose, this was one hell of a series. And then you realize, we keep talking about this. It sounds like cliche, like we're just capitulating to the idea that as pseudo-intellectuals and sports fans and people that cover sports, well, yeah, you know what? You guys don't know anything about hockey, right? Which is weird because you've become like a Don Cherry-like expert on the intricacies of the game. Talking about the way that shots were tipped in and the play behind the net and all of the different analysis, your criticism of Sergei Bobrovsky, who you consider to be the biggest, fattest, slowest piece of shit human stiff that ever lived. And yet, I mean, he rose to the occasion a few times yesterday. And I don't know. He obviously was a major reason why the Panthers were still in that game. The Bruins had many opportunities. And what a game of inches this thing is in the playoffs, especially. Where, I mean, how many times did you see it? The Panthers and the Bruins each had a shot hit the goalpost. The high, end of the goalpost and go off the bar at the top and fall harmlessly away, which by a fraction of an inch, either team could have been in a commanding position in that game. I think the Panthers had the opportunity first, and then it looked like the Bruins were going to put it away and go up 4-2, and the puck, clanks. I mean, it was like that. I don't know. You weren't a highline degenerate, but one of the worst sounds in highline was when you heard that clank of a guy that you needed to score a point, and the pelota would hit the metal up there on the lower part of the wall, and you thought, you complete piece of crap. How could you do that? How could you shank one? I mean, even cursing out Joey Cornblit. Imagine that. Nice Jewish boy playing highlight against all of these guys, these animals from
that grew up playing it their whole life. He's from like Brooklyn.
Yeah, the Basque region of Spain. This guy is like a Jewish kid. He grew up on a knish and a bagel and cream cheese. And yet, if he misplayed one, you were like, Jesus, Joey, what the hell is wrong with you? You're like that with Bobrovsky, though. I mean, he could be the second coming of Terry Sawchuk, and you wouldn't care. Because he gives up a goal, and you're always blaming him.
I hate him so much, and he actually played fine.
Yeah.
That was probably one of his better games. Even Mayo. It's bad when Mike Mayo's like, listen, Lubie.
Yeah, and not every goal is the goalie's fault.
Exactly.
There's not much he could do in a couple of them. But they're in the game. And that was the thing, and I don't know how many of these NHL first-round playoff games ended up in a situation where the team that was trailing scored inside the final minute and a half after yanking their goalie. And even though the team that ended up getting tied in the game and giving up those late goals had several opportunities to poke the puck into the empty net, somehow they managed to lose their grip on things and then give up a goal at the very end of regulation, and then go on to lose in overtime. That happened a couple of times with the Maple Leafs against the the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Lightning victimized by that syndrome a few times. The Leafs scoring late in games and then winning in overtime. And now the Panthers have mastered that late ability to get the 6-on-5 going and somehow escape the empty netter and come up with the game-tying goal in the final seconds. But just a brilliant game yesterday all the way around. The French Joe Philbin, no longer. I mean, we have to remove that tag and come up with something else for Paul Maurice Chevalier. Thank heaven for little girls. We don't want him singing that.
No, that doesn't sound right. Especially
but the tune he should be singing is that very same one that we alluded to at the top of the program. Oh, happy day.
Yes,
this guy is extremely confident. Either that or he's on some kind of sedative that doesn't allow him to even have the slightest inclination that there's a strong possibility that his team could lose. Is very cool on his in-game interviews, which we labeled him the French Joe Philbin because it seemed like for most of the season, every post-game press conference, he literally said nothing.
For me, there were plenty of times where he sounded like Philbin. He's like, they were just too tough for us today.
Yeah.
Like, you were up 2-0 in the third. Like, what are you talking about? Too tough for you. That was pathetic the way you finished on the stretch.
Oh, you were psychotic, and as I would imagine, you weren't alone there among Panther fans. As this was Man of La Mancha type of stuff. I mean, there was no way that you could conceive of Florida beating the Boston Bruins. In fact, they kept flashing odds up even when the Panthers were leading in the game, and the Bruins were still favored if you wanted to make an in-game wager.
I mean,
if you kept pressing it, if you were one of those nutbags that keeps pressing your bets, no matter what, I mean, imagine if you kept pressing the button on the Panthers on the money line, which I believe our good friend, and I would take him at his word there, Jersey Kyle, Moneyline Martinez. He said, inspired by your total confidence that the local teams were going to lose, he took them all on the money line all throughout the series. And, you were banging away at 2-1 on the Panthers in this game. And I would imagine the odds, were even higher when they were trailing 3-2. So if you kept pressing the action, you came away probably with enough money to, have a very nice bankroll going into what will be the greatest bet that you can make on an annual basis at any time, which we'll get into later this week. And that is
That going on too.
A wide open Kentucky Derby.
Is
A
it
wide open
so
Kentucky
funny
Derby.
because you and Mayo are so different on Forte. Like he's always
That's the beauty of horse racing, right? Everybody has an opinion on this. I don't know. I mean, you can't say that the people that believe in this horse are wrong
yeah,
because he hasn't done anything but win.
yeah.
And the Fountain of Youth race was so impressive in his comeback. I don't know. I mean, that he took a little bit of a dump in the Florida Derby. He still won the race. And that's what people are looking at. And that late surge that he had in the stretch was extremely impressive because he had various problems that would be inherent in having a extreme outside post at Gulfstream Park in a mile and an eighth race. So it wasn't going his way, and he looked like a loser at top of the stretch. It looked like there was no way this horse could win. It was kind of remarkable how he reaccelerated late in the stretch and pulled away and won. Can he do it again at Churchill Downs? Churchill Downs is a graveyard for a lot of horses, and it's horses for courses. We saw what home ice advantage meant in the first round of the NHL playoffs. Home court advantage in horse racing can mean a lot. Not that you have to be from Churchill Downs, but the track just doesn't suit everybody. So it's sometimes a mystery how favorites get absolutely run over in the Derby, and people will start making excuses. Well, he had a lousy post position, whatever. But the truth is, a lot of horses just don't adapt to that track. So that's what I'll be hoping for, Lubie. As well, I mean, the way I've been shooting blanks at the racetrack lately.
How'd you do yesterday? I didn't get.
I lost, but I played very sedately, and of course, going out the door, I was going to take like my last 20 that I was willing to invest, and box two numbers in an exacta, and of course, they came in. I didn't do it, and I would have got all my money back for the day had I done it. But
Of course.
no, I'm on such a losing streak that I'm actually thinking about giving up gambling. If you can
I'm
believe
sure.
that. I'm at that stage where I have to become more dedicated to making money on the job here, and less inclined to just go out there and throw money away at the track. But I'm planning on getting even at the Derby. That can make up for all of these losing sessions that I've had recently if we can just nail a Derby try. So I think you throw that horse Forte into the equation. No, I don't know that you can leave him out, but I'm going to hope that he doesn't win. And if he does, well, so be it there. That would be one of the rarities where you'll have a favorite actually going off and winning the Kentucky Derby. But that's going to be a week away, and we'll have some more analysis on that. I'm going to try and get the Polyman to come on the show and see if he won't do something with us. Also later on today, and we have a lot of things working. We're going to have Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars, on. We just had the NFL draft. Do you want to hear the assessment of the Miami Dolphins in the NFL draft? Well, they didn't really have many opportunities. One of the mysteries was they re-signed all of these running backs that were free agents, Mostert and the guy they picked up from San Francisco, Jeff Wilson, yeah, and then also Gaskin. They re-signed all of these guys who were free agents, and then they drafted a running back with one of their 4 picks, which
Yes.
seemed kind of odd, right? I mean, wouldn't you take a shot on any offensive lineman that was still available that has even the most remote chance of making it? I would have drafted 4 offensive linemen if I was the Miami Dolphins. But the assessment was Jalen Ramsey and Javon Holland make for a dynamic duo in the secondary. Head coach Mike McDaniel knows how to scheme for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but can Tua Tagovailoa avoid concussions? Ranked number 20 in the power rankings of this particular writer, Steve Serby.
Yeah, Serby's an idiot. I mean, they're not number
20th team in the NFL.
They're like top 5 in the AFC. It's not going to be 20. And the NFC sucks. NFC has one good team in the entire fucking conference.
Philadelphia Eagles, who everybody is raving about the fact that they have all these Georgia Bulldogs now on their defensive front. And they're saying that nobody aced the draft like the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll get into that with Brett Tessler, the agent to the stars. Then also later on, Dave Hyde on the local scene here. Just phenomenal. And I don't know if Hyde's been bouncing back and forth, at least with the home games. I'm not sure that he's traveling with either of these teams.
I don't know if he did either.
Yeah.
They have. They don't have someone covering the Panthers, so he may have been at the Panthers. I don't know. I don't know where he would have been yesterday. You would think he would have been at a game 7, and they don't have a Panthers beat writer, so you would think he would have been at the Panthers game. I don't know. I don't know where he was actually. I know he's joining us at 8:45. So
That'll be beautiful. And then we're going to extend the show. We're going to overtime ourselves here. Today we'll do, take a page out of the Panthers book and try to come away with a win in overtime as at 9:05. Normally we wrap things up about 9 o'clock here on the show. But beginning at 9:05, we'll be talking with Ian Eagle, who, of course, is calling various games for TNT. And he will be on the call of tomorrow's Heat-Knicks game on TNT. And then you won't see the Heat and the Knicks for another couple of weeks.
The funny thing is,
man, did they stretch that out?
Usually I bitch, but after what happened to Jimmy Butler, I'm fine. Yeah, give him 5 days off. Sure, go for it.
Yes, and I don't know that there's any uncertainty about his status for game number 2. He did come back and play, but he said himself that he really couldn't do anything late in the fourth quarter. When Kevin Love, another weird acquisition by the Miami Heat, Kevin Love. And when that acquisition was made, you thought, it's okay, right? I mean, a decent player, still capable. But it looks like he's playing in slow motion compared to everybody else, does it not?
When I left yesterday, because I left our event halfway through the Heat game, so yes. I was only able to score cast the second half, and I was just keeping track of it. I didn't realize he went back to his UCLA days and had 5 of those fucking passes that made him look like he was Dan Marino. And then he had 4 blocks. He had blocks. He was like highly involved, and it was like, what the fuck?
He never looks like he's ever been able to get off the ground, but especially so now. I mean, he literally looks like somebody took a sledgehammer and nailed his feet to the floor. And yet it's extremely impactful. And then he's throwing those Wes Unseld outlet passes and, extremely effective, as was Kevin Lowry. You couldn't have had a lower Q rating than you would have with Kevin Lowry about midway through the season. As people were grousing about how lousy the Heat were and inconsistent, the number one target of all of the derisive comments seemed to be Kevin Lowry, who, Kyle Lowry. What am I talking about? Kevin Lowry. Kyle Lowry, who... what's that?
Lowry's the one that had 4 blocks, not Kevin Love. I just know that he was better rebounding and better defense than we've seen him since his freaking UCLA days.
Lowry and Kevin Love both looked brilliant in this game and were highly instrumental in the Heat getting off to a 1-0 start. So the Knicks, who were 4.5-point favorites, seemed to be in complete control in the first half. Looked like it was going to be a routine opening game loss in the second round of the playoffs for the Miami Heat. They bounced back. They quickly cut into the lead. By the end of the third quarter, it was the Heat who were dictating the pace of the game, and the Knicks' horrendous shooting, 7 of 34 from three-point range in the game. That's atrocious, huh? I mean, that's a shade over 20%. They came into the series shooting 28% from three-point range for the season.
That's not even good then. So they're not a three-point. I was going to say, I'm like, are they even a three-point shooting team? I mean, that seems like they're chucking it at that point.
Ugliness. I mean, complete. Why no? Here's Thibodeau, who's supposed to be this, hard-nosed, disciplined coach, and yet why no other coaches crumble in terms of their ability to, dictate decent strategy whenever facing Eric Spoelstra, who seems to pretty much outdo everybody, no matter what the circumstances are that he's handed. I mean, seriously handicapped in this series, you would have to think, without Tyler Hero, and yet it doesn't matter at all, as a Spoelstra always seems to find a way to orchestrate, at least a situation, which is all you can really ask of a coach, is to put your team in a position to win the game. Correct?
Yes, 100%. Look, I had issues with Spoelstra early on because he was learning on the fly in the middle of a dynasty. So it was a little annoying for him he was futzing with the rotation all the way into the goddamn Dallas Mavericks series. And I was like, dude, it's fucking JJ Barea. Like, who gives a shit? Like, what are you doing? Just tell LeBron to dunk on him. Like, I don't know what's wrong with you. Like, he was still sowing his oats a little. Yeah. So you could see the difference between that first year in the Thunder series, where he was willing to stand up to LeBron, and that's when they went and won the championship. Like, but from that point on, this dude, like, he's become a master. He just is really good at getting more out of less. Like Gabe Vincent, where the fuck did Gabe Vincent was this whole friggin' year, and the last 2-3 games he's played out of his fucking mind.
No, he's been great, that's been happening. I mean, the Heat seem to be rounding into form at exactly the right time. So, again, with another opportunity like they had in the Milwaukee series to come away, they win that opener on the road and come away with an excellent chance if they can go up 2-0, Julius Randle's status still questionable. That was also, according to, there were 20 pages of psychotic analysis in the New York Post today, since that was an afternoon game, and we know the result. So, they were absolutely stunned. I mentioned this on our Defo on 5 Reasons Sports Network. The last time I saw a crowd like that, as stunned at Madison Square Garden when it was announced that Arnold the Golden Boy Skolin from White Plains, New York, would be replacing Bruno Sammartino in a Texas steel cage match. Loser leaves town consideration against Gorilla Monsoon. And you're sitting there in the garden with tickets thinking you're going to see Monsoon Sammartino finally clash in the ring there with the great Bruno Sammartino being among the most popular wrestlers in the history of the sport. And instead, you're going to get this schmenk who never won a match, Skolin.
Like, what the fuck?
Holy Spike Lee. I mean, how are you supposed to react to something like that? I'll have to run that by Iron Eagle.
Oh, my God, you have to 100%.
You know he loves any kind of wrestling reference and, also evil dictator references as well. So I don't know. Can we work Kim Jong-un into this thing somehow?
I'm sure you can.
Well, the Knicks shot the 3-pointers like a Kim Jong-un ballistic missile test, did they not? Where you don't know where the fuck they're going. It's incredible. All right, so we have our material for Iron Eagle worked out. That'll be about 9:05 today. And Ian, who's just brilliant on what he does. When you think about it, how understated he is compared to, say, Holler and Kevin Harlan, and yet extremely effective on his NBA calls, as he is, which are entirely different on TV than his football calls.
Yep.
The guy's just great. And yet you wouldn't think that he had, inside him, I guess it's part of the DNA from his father, of course, the great Jack Eagle, who, what was that commercial he was in where he played the monk? The Xerox ad.
It was Xerox, and then he was kind of dishwasher or soap, or I don't know.
What we really loved, this was a fact that absolutely, endeared us forever to Iron Eagle, was when he mentioned that his father, Jack Eagle, also was Mr. Cholesterol in a margarine ad.
That's what Mr.
That's quite a distinction for a guy who was closing in on Jim Nantz. As Nantz continues to abdicate different positions where he's been the number one guy forever.
Yep.
Here's Iron Eagle drafting right in and just, picking up one man gathers when another man spills. It's been amazing. Only a matter of time. And I think you should introduce Ian with the Masters music today.
I have it somewhere.
Because it's only a matter of time when, you're going to hear Iron Eagles saying, "It's a tradition like none other."
That'd be great if he steals and answers lines. He's saying, "Hello, friends." And he's Iron Eagle.
Hello, friends. Jim who?
That would be great.
He's third behind Noah Eagle now in the
exactly
hierarchy there at CBS Sports, and in this case TNT. So Iron Eagle later on to break down the Miami Heat New York Knicks series and the other stuff that's going on. Joel Embiid supposedly going to be out for game number 1 against the Celtics. Celtics prohibitive favorites. You would like to have seen that series played at full strength by both teams, no?
Yep.
That would have made for great entertainment. I don't know. Embiid missing for the 76ers, you would have to think, is kiss of death material, no?
Yeah, it sucks. And look, no one's to say he's not going to come back for the next game, but if he's missing games like that, like Jimmy Butler, we don't know if he's going to miss game 2. It's up in the air. They knew for a while that Embiid was missing game 1. If that's the case, that's not good for the series. It's not a good sign.
Was this, I was conversing via text with the lovely and talented one, who, of course, was all in with their Boston teams. And, was living and dying with every shot, every, movement of the puck there in Game 7 as a Bruins fan. And there's a real indignity to being a team. How quickly forgotten will their historic regular season be since they got bounced out in the first round of the playoffs? The absolute deflation for the Boston fans there and everybody that was attached to this Bruins team all season long is enormous. You could see that. And, the coach there was completely despondent after the game. Looked like Bergeron was going to break into tears. You had, just a complete letdown. Is that the biggest letdown in Boston sports history since the Bambino was traded for cash to stage no-no in net?
It's a town, yes, in the last 20 years, they've had a lot of winning, but before then, they had a lot of losing. So I would say
Well, they
no.
were cursed.
I would say no. The fact that they put a lot of money into baseball and couldn't win for over 100 years,
Yeah.
or around 100 years, I feel like there's a lot in there. The Bucky bleeping Dent thing probably holds a lot of water. First base, what the hell? The one that Segredo's good friends with. I forget.
Oh, Bucky Dent, yeah.
That was at first base. That wasn't Bucky Dent. Bucky Dent played for the Yankees. The guy at
Oh,
first,
Buckner.
Buckner
Yeah.
at first base when it felt like they were going to walk away.
And it gets by Buckner, yeah.
After an 80-year drought. I feel like that's still up there, but they were very arrogant about this Bruins team, and they were up 3-1, so they had a right to be arrogant over a Panthers team that, as we know, their own fans had given up on them. This is up there. This is probably, I would say, top 10-ish. It's just that city's been around a long time. Like they've had Patriots. You're up. You're 18-0. You're playing a Giants team that was like a wild card team versus Eli Manning.
Oh yeah, that was very deflating, no doubt.
And you lose that game, and you had the game won. Eli does some crazy shit to some dude that no one's ever heard of, and he never did anything after. Like, so I would presume that's pretty deflating.
Oh, the David Tyreen thing.
Yes, so they've had some stuff in that area. But this has got to be up there. I mean, that team is historically great until this round.
Oh, you would absolutely be face down in the closest body of water that you could find after seeing, this absolutely deflating letdown by the Boston Bruins, losing 3 in a row for the first time during the year, losing Game 7 at home after having the lead inside of a minute and a half to go.
Like they were cheering like it was over.
Hitting the puck to the boards, and this thing is over.
They were cheering. They were talking about the goalies. They're like, there's Olmark. Good, what friends they are that Snowdenman or whatever the hell his name is came in and he saved his ass. He was falling to that point. And they're like, they're the best of friends. It's such a weird combination, but they can't wait for that big hug. And right after he said the word hug, I was like, oh, that's a weird thing for him to say with a minute left. Yes. They put it in right then. I was like, there it is.
Well, that was a great part of it, too, because whoever was doing the game had the Bruins in the winner's circle all the way.
Yes.
So no way. I mean, they were already doing, like you said, the tribute type of stuff, all of this congratulatory baloney that they spew out there, because the two goalies probably hate each other, right? I mean, if you're Allmark and you get pulled for Game 7, if you're any kind of competitor, I don't know that you need to go over and sulk on the bench there, because, the guy was a human sieve. In game number 6, you had to think that they couldn't help but consider making a change. No matter how little faith they had. I mean, look, this whole Cinderella story with Alex Lyon. Who remembers Alex Lyon anymore? It's all about Bobrovsky and whether or not he's going to make the one bonehead play that is going to knock you out of the game, which he nearly did, and yet somehow the Panthers were able to make amends. Most exciting weekend of Panther hockey ever, I would have to say. I mean, even going back to the 96 team, and those playoffs were wild. You see how impossible it is to win the Stanley Cup, though. I mean, if you can get by, think about this. Now, after playing 7 just bloodbath games against the Bruins, you now meet the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are as hungry as you are.
Yeah, what do you mean they're hungry? They haven't won ever.
Yes.
I mean, they had a dynasty in the aughts, but they haven't won since the 50s.
I think Andy Bathgate was skating for him the last time that they were a factor in the Stanley Cup. And that was just round 1. That was a crazy thing. I kept thinking that was only round 1.
That's my problem.
And look what you had to do to get to this point.
You brought me back to life because I was so jacked up after that game. I was so happy. And then you're like, yeah, they play Toronto next. I'm like, oh, that's.
Well, Toronto was very lucky. I mean, they just as easily could have been knocked out in the first round as well. Toronto
screw around with Toronto. They screw around with Toronto, and then after that, you would think they'd have to play Carolina, and that's another team that they're horrendous with. That's the problem. They actually played the Bruins well. That's why, even though this series was such a mismatch on paper, people who followed hockey were like, "Oh, that's interesting." The Panthers were the one team in hockey that played the Bruins well. They don't play the Maple Leafs well. They don't play the Carolina Hurricanes well.
That is a weird question to ask a guy, after he just, he's still in the euphoric moment, talking about this Seattle Kraken goaltender who held Colorado off. I mean, they were mounting a furious attack. There was a goal disallowed because of a review, and it turned out they had made the wrong call originally, that there should have been an offsides call. They took a goal away, the tying goal from Colorado, and the Kraken hold on. And then the question, I mean, very Susie Colbert-esque, was it not? when a young, very attractive female reporter, in a deep fashion, as if it was, Aristotle asking the questions. That's this goalie who was still schwitzing. I mean, schwitz is dripping off his chin. He had to be, a little bit psychotic. I mean, he's seeing pucks, zooming in like they were, roaches, crawling on the wall there. And you're like, my God, there's a million bugs coming at me. And she says, well, what did you learn about yourself in this game? And this was a guy who was like a 20-year veteran. What is he supposed to say to that? He didn't know how to answer the question. He was like, I don't know. I mean, give me Jim Gray at that point.
See, that's one of those questions that you're asking for the stupid coach speak. Like, a quarterback would go, well, the resilience and the resolve of this group, I'm just so proud of these guys. And we just take it a game at a time and a quarter at a time and a minute at a time. And it's like, I didn't want that answer. But when you ask the question, what other answer are you going to get?
You can't get anything but cliched philosophical babble, which, you sit there and you need an interpreter to tell you that essentially the guy just said nothing. A lot of sports questions are pretty dumb questions. I mean, you would have to say. But everybody's trying to find a new, more intellectual way of phrasing them. Which, a better question might have been, why are you schwitzing so much, man? You won the game. You wouldn't figure that a goalie would be soaked with sweat, would you?
They move around a lot.
They're wearing all of that heavy equipment there.
They're the only one that's there the whole time. Everyone's on and off every 50 seconds. They're standing there for hours.
Doesn't it seem like, they have so much equipment on. You remember the Hootie the Owl contest that they used to have at halftime of various football games, including the Dolphin games? It was a big staple when Hooters was a big sponsor. And, they had the guy bouncing around in the plastic Hootie the Owl suit. That's kind of how these goalies look. I mean, you would think it would be impossible to fire a puck past them, but somehow they do. All right, Brett Tessler, the agent of the Stars, is going to join us. I mean, amazing in this town. You had wild stuff going on. Panthers, winning, thrilling Game 6 and Game 7 to move on to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, they did win a round last year.
They did.
It's just that there seems to be so much more enthusiasm about, coming away. Obviously, you beat an historically good team in the regular season to get to the second round, but where they were, easily, perceived to be falling apart in the first round last year against the Capitals after being the best team in the league and incurring the curse of the President's Trophy winner. You thought that they were going to go down in flames in the second round against the Tampa Bay Lightning, a veteran and very savvy playoff team. And that's when they decided to make immense changes, right? And apparently, even though it took a while to click in and still had them on the brink of elimination many, many times, they managed to hang in there and beat the Bruins, which was a tremendous accomplishment and has us reassessing our opinion of the French Joe Philbin and Paul Maurice. Why can't I help but, think of Chevalier after you mentioned this guy's name? But, he's a lot more distinguished than I thought he was. And seems to be far more intelligent than just to be spewing out Philbinisms, whenever he's asked a question about the team. I guess he had no explanation for how inconsistent they were earlier portion of the season. And he had to be wondering, with the Panthers' history for firing coaches, that might be I don't know that it was going to be a one and done. But that he would have been on very so-called thin ice next year had they missed the playoffs. Exactly. That would have been it, right? It would have been about time for the Panthers to call Barry Trotz. Although he's now in the front office somewhere. Trotz, if you can find him. I don't know if you can see his head above the desk. Isn't it like having Danny DeVito coaching your hockey team?
100%.
Trotz. It's great. Has no neck whatsoever. He's like no neck Williams. Okay, coming back with more. Brett Tessler, the agent of the Stars. Dave Hyde later on, local Sun Sentinel columnist here, and I've been all over these terrific stories that are going on. South Florida, the epicenter of the sporting world.
I forgot you brought up last week because I guess Visser Mama was saying the home of sports, and I was like, two teams. Our gentleman here said it earlier in the chat. I forgot that the Canes and FAU were in the Final Four, the last big event.
Exactly.
The Final Four combatants. So it's like, oh shit, that's actually sort of true right now. At least things are looking up. Look, I didn't realize the Marlins had won 4 in a row.
Swept the Cubs over the weekend. Even though yesterday's, I guess they played at noon. The pitching matchup in that game. What's this guy's name? Honig or something like that. And they brought him up from a double A or, like, I don't know. What are the jumbo shrimp? Triple A? Their team in Jacksonville. Brought him up, and he got hammered in his first start. And he's going against a guy for the Cubs that got off to a 4-0 start. And somehow the Marlins end up winners in that game. And, so, yeah, they're playing well, 16-13, sitting there 3 games out of first place in the National League East and finding ways to win, Lubie, as the Panthers did and the Miami Heat have been doing. Just a great time, South Florida sports. And we were half of the Final Four also, nearly with a team in the finals if FAU hadn't spit the bit in the closing moments against San Diego State. So, who's doing better than us? And all Cinderella stories, too.
Yes, that's the thing. None of them, even the Heat came into the season with expectations, but by the third month, you knew what
those were vanquished. Yeah. We literally were talking not that long ago before the Heat even qualified, in the 7th spot there, and then looked like they were going to miss the playoffs when trailing Chicago. And we were talking about how the Heat franchise, unfortunately, is snookered and going to be stuck in this sort of modicum of mediocrity for a while.
Yes, I thought of malaise.
Yes, I mean, the prospects were not bright. So now you're looking at a team that, is 1-0 and a home, a home court advantage now in the series against the New York Knicks. But you would have to think an outstanding opportunity to, come back. I mean, they get up 2-0. I don't know that it's insurmountable, but they're pretty tough at home. So hard to imagine them losing both of those games. So here they go, another free swing at Madison Square Garden. All right, much more to do here on the program. Dave Hyde going to join us, coming up with Brett Tessler. And then 9:05, stick around. We go overtime today. In the tradition of the first round of the NHL playoffs, 15 overtime games. We go OT with the great Iron Eagle. So stick around. Be with you till about 9:20 or so this morning here on the Defo Show. And then later on, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Good time yesterday. Thank you, people, for coming out. That was great. It was nice meeting a lot of the fans out there that are fans of both this show and our Mike Mayo's Lunchbox program at 12 o'clock. And I got to give Mayo credit, man. He's come a long way. I mean, this was a guy you wouldn't anticipate just get up and start giving a welcome speech, which he did with. Yeah.
That's great.
Had a little routine plan. He got up. I don't know. Does he strike you as the kind of guy that wants to get up and do a lot of public speaking? No.
He does it, but I didn't know he was comfortable at it. He did it pretty comfortably yesterday. We didn't have to egg him on or it.
No, I mean, before you knew it, I mean, I'm slobbering down an omelet there at the, all-you-could-eat buffet at Gulfstream. And there's Mayo standing up and conducting a brilliant job of welcoming all of the people that came out yesterday. Nice meeting Ken Rosenblum and all of the other people that came out. Andy, man, I hope he finally got his girl to come out there. He looked like an air traffic controller. I saw him down in the parking lot going, no, north side.
He's always futzing.
It's right there by the Creighton Browl or whatever that store is.
I gotta leave, dude. We've been there for 3 hours. I don't know what the hell you're doing.
Andy, man, I mean, that was crazy.
For Ubers and I'm like, why do you meet these women that don't know how to just drive themselves?
or can't just jump in a cab. She was at the Miami airport.
I'm saying, like, why is he like he's around people with means? I'm like, why do you have to engineer like? I don't understand why she. I was like, I don't know. I don't have time to figure out the machinations of the lunacies.
No, but he looked like Alec Baldwin on the set of Rust when this accident happened, where he's running around on the phone there going, I don't know what the fuck to do.
It's like yelling. I'm like, I had flashbacks to me. You're like, buy, sell. He's like yelling in the middle of the room. No, it's
It's called Gulfstream Park. It's a racetrack.
I'm like, dude, what is going on right now?
It's hard to miss. It's a giant property with a casino on it.
They have the biggest whore. What do you mean? The goddamn flying horse.
The Pegasus statue. Go by that.
Fly. Like you see it literally from a plane. That's what they did it for.
Yes.
You see it as like the guitar. It was supposed to be the guitar and the fucking Pegasus are the two things you're supposed to see when you're flying into South Florida.
And the Pegasus thing is taking on some character, I believe. I keep looking at that and thinking $30 million for a statue. What do you think, Lubie?
I don't know. All I know is it's supposed to be able to find Gulfstream very easily because of the goddamn thing.
Andy, you must have scored because he's telling us it all worked out on the chat line there. All right, we're coming back with Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars, in a moment. Now that.
The time.
7:40. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. Make the right choice for your home. Call Choice Mortgage today.
The simple pleasures of this job, the way a stadium sounds when one of my players performs well on the field, the way we are meant to protect them in health and in injury. Less work, more attention, caring for them, caring for ourselves in the games too.
The agent to the stars, the one and only Brett Tessler.
Welcome back to the show. Peel yourself off the Mount Monday here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz. Later on, Dave Hyde going to join us, and Ian Eagle be with us in a little overtime session today, right around 9:05. So stick around for that. If you're a fan of the program, Ian Eagle, always great in terms of conversing about the world of sport. Definitely, it comes off as kind of a straight-laced guy on the calls of the games. Not that he's uptight or anything, but, very loose, but, very, very professional in what he does. And then he's hysterical as a conversationalist. So you can look forward to that later on in the program. Right now, a guy that, I don't know, if there's anybody quite as persistent, maybe Michael Kodsey. Would be after he navigated his way through some real red tape to secure that loan for me. The agent to the stars, Brett Tessler, joins us here on the program. Brett, how are you, my friend?
Man, what a long, exciting weekend.
Could not have been any better. I mean, you're always thinking whatever happened the most recently is going to be the most exciting, or so it seems. But literally 42 years here in South Florida, Brett Tessler. I've been following the sports scene as closely as anybody. I mean, the games that we've been able to attend and the teams and all of the different things that we've seen over the years. I don't know that I've seen anything quite like this, though, where you have two teams in the college basketball Final Four, very improbable, and then a couple of Cinderella stories being written by the Florida Panthers and the Miami Heat. And then unnoticeable so far has been, a reasonably decent start by any standard by the Miami Marlins, who swept the Cubs over the weekend. Could not be a more exciting time, and the Dolphins expected to do well this year.
Very exciting time for sure. And last night's Panthers Bruins game, you could hear my voice isn't 100% there, but it doesn't get more exciting than that. I mean, a game 7 against the greatest team historically on the road, just absolutely amazing. And I told you before the season, let's take on the Bruins,
Because you actually did. Yeah, you were all about it.
If this team was meant to go anywhere, again, that's a team, those are the type of teams you're going to have to face. And face it, it's not like Toronto in this next series is going to be a walk in the park either. So you know what? If you need to build confidence, if you need to prove to yourself that, your best hockey is now and into the future as opposed to 2-3 months ago, this is the way you do it. And so, theoretically, now that we've beaten the best team in the league by far, there's no reason why we can't beat any other team. And so if anything gives your squad more confidence and, just good vibes moving forward, that's the way to do it. And, the only thing that I hope for is that we don't make the same mistakes moving forward that we made in this last series, because if you want to know the truth, we probably could have beat these guys in sticks and, came out really, really flat at home, both first, game 3 and 4. You don't want to do that again. And so I think at some point people were thinking that the guys on this team were just going to, get ready to go hit the golf course and, mail it in the rest of the way. Amazingly, somehow, some way, they pulled it out. And I think when you eke your way by under those circumstances, hopefully it scares them straight moving forward and they come out swinging every game with the same intensity they did yesterday, because yesterday the better team won, plain and simple.
It was great. Now, you with the season tickets, were you at that game 6? Because I thought, and even watching it on TV, and I was all over the Panthers. I really started following them very closely and attending games during the '96 playoffs, the early sessions, of course, against the Bruins, and then subsequently against the Flyers and the Pittsburgh Penguins, and it was fantastic going on to the finals. Tremendous run, but I don't know that I've seen, Brett Tessler, a more exciting Panther hockey game than that Friday night game 6, which ended up in the 7-5 victory. Were you there? Because, that was electric.
I don't know that I've ever seen a more exciting sporting event than
What?
that game 6. And unfortunately, no, I wasn't there. It was day 2 of the draft. And obviously, my hands were quite full, just getting everything, prepared for that day and the next. So it was really, really tough to not be able to go to that. But it was great to watch it on TV with the family. And again, you just can't find a more exciting sporting event than that. And, I've been telling everybody for years, since the 6 or 7 years that we've become season ticket holders to the Panthers. And I'm a more recent hockey fan. Like, I didn't grow up with this sport. I never played this sport. This is something that, my son and I discovered together and just immediately fell in love with. And now my wife and our daughter and my mom, all people who have no hockey background at all, are just completely in love with this team and in love with this sport. And I continue to tell anybody down here, to me, I grew up loving baseball more than anybody. That was a sport I played. Football obviously was a huge love and passion of mine, which is sort of why I decided to become an NFL agent. Was a huge fan of basketball years ago, but for me, nothing is better than following this Florida Panthers team. It's just such a great team, amazing organization, best venue to go watch a game. Just so comfortable, and it's fun, and it's just easy to get in and out. I think that anybody who's not on the bandwagon yet should get on it while they can, because this team is built to have a lot of success into the future with Matthew Tkachuk and some of the other great young players.
All right, the draft takes place. There wasn't a ton of local steam about it because the Panthers didn't have a first-round pick. They did take players in the second round and in subsequent rounds. I don't know that there was a tremendous amount of buzz about what they did, but before we get to that, Brett Tessler, Agent of the Stars, your overall characterization of what you saw there, things that stand out, and maybe some things that surprise you about the draft this year.
So it's funny. I put out a tweet on Thursday around noon that Anthony Richardson was going to get drafted a lot higher than most people expect, and that's not a guess. And, part of the cool thing about being in my position is obviously, coming into the draft, I talk to all the teams, and just, aside from discussing my clients, we kind of shoot the shit about some different things. And, the one thing that really surprised me is just team after team saying that they think Anthony Richardson is just the most talented and best player to take in this draft. And so, in fact, some teams that I spoke to, some real higher ups told me that if they had the first overall pick, they'd take Anthony Richardson.
Wow.
Because really, if you think about it, none of these quarterbacks this year was the perfect prospect. There was no Joe Burrow. There was no Andrew Luck. Every single one of these guys has a degree of risk. And so if you're going to take a risk, again, go big. Go for the guy who, and I think I even said this on your show last week, possibly. Go for the guy who has the most upside. And in the case of Anthony Richardson, there has literally never been a prospect like this. There's been quarterbacks who were fast, who had strong arms like Michael Vick, but nobody with this kind of size too. And so, you know what? I respect the chance the Colts were willing to take, because again, every single player picked in this entire draft has a degree of risk involved. There's nothing guaranteed with anybody. And so I thought that was a real exciting pick, and I personally can't wait to see the way that plays out. You look at a guy like Bryce Young, the size concerns are valid, and not just the height. In his case, this isn't like a Kyler Murray who's a little short but built like a tank. This is a guy who's incredibly slight, and obviously, quarterbacks in this league, especially ones that are sort of athletic and move around a little bit, take a little bit of punishment. In the case of CJ Stroud, obviously really, really good player, but it's harder to try to project, because when you've got 2 first-round receivers, 2 first-round tackles, first-round this, first-round that, it definitely makes life a little easier. So I thought things worked out well for all those teams. Hopefully these guys do end up panning out. And as it relates to the Dolphins picks, I think, they got themselves a really good player with their first pick. Obviously, again, they didn't have a first rounder. So in the second round, they get a really, really good corner. And then other than that, they get a receiving type tight end. You get a tackle in the 7th, which, that's not really usually a place where you can get top talent at that position. Those guys are long gone. And then they got a running back, which, I think maybe they're thinking for the future. I think, in today's NFL, more good running backs are obviously a luxury, but I wouldn't say that was the most pressing need for the team. So it's very clear when you look at the players and the positions that they drafted, they were committed to trying to go with what they truly felt was the best player available, as opposed so much to needs. Because again, with this team, as has been the case going on, 20 years now, it would really be great to see them properly and adequately address offensive line. And there's still ways that they can do that, because there are still some quality veterans out there. It's kind of a weird free agency this year in the way that, obviously you see the huge names, the huge contracts end up happening in the first 48 hours. But because there's really no middle class in the NFL anymore, and you're talking about, still plenty of quality guys that are out there unsigned, waiting for the right opportunity and hoping that, a reasonable contract can present itself. There's definitely still quality depth and experienced guys out there that, probably can be gotten, and hopefully they'll do that.
So the only look, and I know as Moster's agent, you probably it wasn't the dream to get a young back, but look, I mean, as you just said, like McDaniel likes having a stable of backs. This NFL, you're not doing a 1-2 back system. You see teams doing 3 and 4. So I don't think it has really would be anything for Moster to feel slighted about. The one pick that did confuse me, and I get it, a lot of people are doing. He was a really good player. He just had some issues with the team. But their second round pick is a little confusing to me because, and I get it, you don't draft for need, right? When you draft for need, that's when you sort of screw yourself. You should go for the best player available. But their defensive backfield sort of loaded. And I get it, they had injuries last year, but all those guys are coming back. And then you add Jalen Ramsey. So to me, when you're so short at the offensive line position, and you're definitely short at the tight end position, to go and get a cornerback who, as it stands, isn't going to really see the field at all for a team that's trying to win now. Because usually when you're drafting in win now mode, you're trying to find guys that fill holes for now, like not the future. That was the only pick that I was like, I wasn't sure what they were doing there.
Yeah, I get it. But, even though they got Jalen Ramsey, it still bears noting they finished 27th in the league in pass defense last year. So I think to solve that, it requires more than just one piece.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay with this one. I mean, it by all accounts seems to be a really, really good player. And again, that's a position where those guys are hard to find. And if you feel like, you've got the right guy there, because look, Xavier Howard didn't have the greatest season ever last year. And so, you never know how things are going to work out, as you said, with health, contracts with different guys. So it's never a bad idea if you can add a top corner. So I'm okay with that one. Really, it has less to do with who the Dolphins picked than it does with just the fact that they only had 4 picks. And so that definitely makes it harder. Obviously, they lost a pick with the whole tampering issue. That hurts bad. And so, they got themselves a really, really good player with their first pick. And then beyond that, again, the running back they got, this guy is not really, this guy is really small. I mean, he's like 5'9", he's in the 180s. This is really more of a change of pace back, like everyone else on the Dolphins offense, lightning fast. So when you look at Waddle and you look at Hill and you look at Mostert, now you add this guy, these are the things that give defenses the runs. And so, you know what, it's going to be, it's going to be another mismatch. Same thing they did with that big receiver / tight end they drafted from Stanford. This guy is sort of today's style tight end. These guys don't have to do a whole lot of blocking. They can move inside and chip here and there. But, the thing is, in Mike McDaniel's offense, these type of tight ends really don't have as much of a role as we saw last year with Mike Gesicki, who at times, who he was playing under the franchise tag. There was times last season where you had to remind yourself that he was still on the team.
Yep.
And so, again, you can never have enough weapons. Obviously, if you believe that it's an important year for Tua, it's great to give him as many different weapons as possible. This is one of those guys that is too fast for most linebackers to cover and too big for most defensive backs to handle. So a really good mismatch type guy. Hopefully he can learn some blocking and be able to help out occasionally here and there. But, the type of tight end that McDaniel really needs, which is sort of that Y tight end, the blocking tight end, those guys can be gotten, even in undrafted free agency. Again, I promise you there's some veterans who can do that who are out on the market right now. It seems strange that, again, Gesicki was such a non-factor last year. And essentially you're trying to draft a guy who is sort of that style, but again, you just can't have enough weapons. You can't have enough speed. And I don't think anybody in the entire NFL at this point has more than the Miami Dolphins. They just have to find guys that can give Tua a little time and protection to be able to utilize those weapons and stay in one piece in the process.
Brett Tessler, the agent of stars, with us here on the Defo Show. Any news on the front of the Georgia Bulldogs being annexed as an official minor league team of the Philadelphia Eagles? And most of the consensus of opinion would point to the fact that the Eagles benefited the most in this draft. They've been immediately installed as a favorite to win the Super Bowl after shoring up what was an imposing defensive front with a couple of standout players. There were a lot of trades, a lot of manipulation in the draft. Also, you had several cases where teams were swapping one spot, which I always find weird, where you're willing to offer a lot of incentive for a team to drop down a spot because and obviously you would know that they weren't taking the player that you had coveted if they were willing to trade the pick. And so you're thinking how much poker playing was going on with teams and GMs pretending that they had a lot of offers for a selection so that they could bilk other teams. What did you think of all the different transactions? And is that indicative of anything in particular in terms of the quality of the draft overall?
So when you see teams trade up one spot, it's not necessarily because they're concerned that the team in front of them is going to draft that player. It's that they're concerned that another team could possibly trade and jump them at that position for that player. And so, if there's a guy that you just love that much that you absolutely positively, can't believe is there and you feel like you can't live without him, well, then the only sure way to get him is to make sure that nobody else can jump you. I find that in most instances in the draft and in life for that matter, patience pays off.
Yes.
There's plenty of good players out there. If you're in the third round or second round and there's a guy still there, there's a reason why he's still there. If this guy was as great as you think he is, guess what? He would have been taken higher, would have been a first rounder. So I think, some of these teams get slightly, impatient, whatever the case may be. As it relates to Philadelphia, they probably got themselves the best player in the draft in Jalen Carter.
That's annoying.
Obviously he wasn't one of the quarterbacks, but this is a guy that I think is as can't miss could be. And then, of course, as you mentioned, they then get themselves a linebacker from Georgia in the first. And then they get themselves, another player from Georgia in the mid round, and they get themselves some other good players along the way. So this is how the great teams do it. And, it's funny, Howie Roseman, a guy I've known a very long time. Me and him were just texting randomly a couple weeks ago, just kind of, shooting the shit together. And, it's funny that, we were talking about University of Florida. My wife went to Florida. She went to Florida Law. He went to Florida Law. I was hanging out with someone else at the time who knew him from Florida Law. And so it was just funny to see him drafting all these Bulldogs and actually making comment about that. No one's going to allow him to step foot at Florida again, but they had a great draft, and they are a great team and a great organization. And I'd say if you were trying to decide or pick who you think is going to win the Super Bowl next year, I think they would have to be right there in your top, 1, 2, or 3 teams that you would choose.
Final thing, Brett, and I always appreciate your time. We were commenting, I guess, on the Friday show about the number of people in the war room. It used to be like a handful of guys, right? You would have like Shula and, maybe, his guy, the Turk, and Stu, would be in there, and, maybe Harvey Green, maybe the owner. How is it that they've expanded to where you have like 100 people in these war rooms? And how important is it to have that kind of crowd in there? I mean, look like the locker room for a Mayweather fight.
Yeah, it's not important whatsoever. I mean, realistically, at that point, it's not like all of a sudden, teams have to quickly start scouting a guy. All those reports have been finished for weeks, and the list is complete. And, the teams know what they plan on doing, and they know if this guy goes, here's the next guy we would want. If these 5 guys aren't there, here would be the next one. So there's no need for it. It's just become more of a made for TV event. And I think that, these teams feel like it somehow adds more excitement to their picks to see, 50 guys in a room jumping around and hugging.
Crazy, yeah.
Personally, I think it looks absurd.
It does.
I mean, really, like, don't tell me that, the long snapper you drafted in the 7th round requires everybody to be,
high-fiving, yeah.
And a huge circle jerk. So, to me, it's one of those. To me, it's one of those things where, I mean, it's almost a little bit comical if you think about it. The truth
really is.
Most of the people in that room probably don't even know who the player is. As a joke, sometime they should like announce a guy who's dead. And everybody high five.
It's only a matter of time before that happens.
You'd still see everybody high fiving and rolling around on the ground together and all that. So,
Autogram. Yes.
It's a little extra, but you know what? It's all good, man. And it's always an exciting time. And I think the NFL has done an amazing job turning this once, just very mundane event, into one of the biggest weekends in sports. So that's pretty impressive. And, the next thing I think the NFL should consider doing is having a lottery. And I think that would be the next event that could really become a big, exciting thing for a lot of teams. And if they feel like they have tanking issues, that's obviously the easiest and most obvious way to try to combat it.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, I'm also amazed by the number of people that schlepp to Kansas City to be in the crowd acting like maniacs. And, the crowd looks like you're reassembling the hippies at Woodstock in 69. I mean, just absolutely as thick and deep as it could possibly be. And, you're thinking, what kind of people would actually go there to stand there and watch Goodell get up there? And, I don't know if you want to rank the sincerity of the hugs of the first 31 guys taken, because it seemed, a little odd, the way that he got so emotional, Goodell, not knowing any of these people. But yeah, I mean, the fans that come out for this, it's amazing. If you wanted to see a testimony to the popularity of the league, because I don't know what would compel you to do that. Brett, always a pleasure, my friend. How did you fare personally with your clients? Did you make out okay?
It's comical to see Goodell hugging these guys like he's their boy, because he's hugging them today.
Yeah.
In a few months, he'll be fining or suspending half
Exactly.
of them. So, it's the whole thing is pretty comical to me. So
it's great. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
He greets him like, when you see like a soldier returns from Iraq or something, and the rescue dog that had been waiting for him at the airport since he was dispatched for war, is waiting there, and you see the reunion. You're like, holy shit, man, these guys love each other.
Too funny, and everything worked out well, man. Got 4 new guys on teams.
Oh, nice.
So that's about what I expected coming into this. So everything's good, and now it's time to start looking forward to mini camps and OTAs and all that good stuff.
Beautiful, Brent. We love you, man. Thanks so much. Always a pleasure, my friend.
All right, guys. Love you too. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Tessler.
Yeah. I knew I could get him going on Goodell.
I know, you know that.
The hugging thing. I mean, come on, Raj. You got to be kidding me, right?
Always hug. It's like,
here's Jalen Carter, who, I don't know. He may well be a good guy that just did a really stupid thing as a college kid. Is he a kid? I don't know. I mean, you see some of these guys like 27. They're still
21, 22. I mean,
yeah.
He's a young man.
Okay. I mean, no doubt anybody would admit that watches this program or listens to the show that you probably did something really stupid at some point in time, and you thought about it later on and said, you know what, I could have killed myself or somebody else doing this crap.
Yes.
What the hell was I thinking, right?
Yes.
And racing cars, I guess, would not be uncommon, especially, they're just finishing up a celebration. Not to condone this. I mean, obviously a stupid thing, but, this was an event that ended in tragedy and criminal charges, did it not?
Yes, 2 people died.
Yes.
Or at least 1 person died. I know that much. And
Goodell is like, welcoming this guy to the league. Like, oh my God, even 8 teams decided that they were going to pass.
Yeah.
On the, a guy that was, widely considered to be the best player, best talent available. Period. It was very Warren Sappian, was it not? What was going on with this guy? Although Sapp dropped to number 12, and this kid Carter. Probably was going to be the number 1. He could have easily been the number 1 overall pick if it wasn't for the desperation at the quarterback position most teams experience. I'm inclined to agree with Tessler. I would rather take a shot on Richardson, because I don't know that either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud are going to be franchise-type quarterbacks. Do you? I mean, it's the old question about Ryan Tannehill. Is he a franchise quarterback?
Talking to the wrong guy. I don't understand the Richardson love. I watched him suck at
a phenomenal athletic specimen. That would be the thing.
I mean, again, that's my problem. Is it's like they've gotten so used to these running quarterbacks that they want their tight end to play quarterback. You're drafting a quarterback. You're not drafting a tight end. I understand Young's going to probably miss 2-3 games a year, if not more. And I get it. Down here with Tua, that's what we're dealing with. But I think when he plays, he's going to be good. Richardson may play. I don't know if he's going to be good. I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, he also, because he seems to be a young man of really good character.
Bright kid, yes. He's a bright
yes. I mean, that would expand the idea that he was capable of learning new things as a pro, while, obviously getting an extreme amount of attention from the coaching staff and, anybody that was connected with the organization that would like to see this kid excel, because the one flaw that he had supposedly was his inaccuracy as a passer. So, I mean, and is that something that's correctable? That's the question.
It can be. We've seen it. It's just rare. That's not as correctable as the Josh Allen fans would want you to think.
Well, and we don't know that Josh Allen has completely overcome that, because it seems like when he gets to certain moments of truth, or as the great Tony Segreto would say, if he's in the big moment there, he's had a tendency to revert back to previous mistakes more so than the fact that he's overcome them, at least recently.
Yes.
So, you don't hear as many people talking about the Buffalo Bills as a certainty to evolve as a Super Bowl contender again. I mean, they'll be contenders possibly, but you don't hear an overwhelming amount of steam about the Bills being the team to beat this year, do you? Whereas last year going in, that was more than a general consensus.
Well, I mean, Steve Serby, who I thought he knew football, but he hasn't watched the NFL in a decade. The Dolphins are not only contenders to win the AFC East, a lot of people are picking them to win the AFC East. And then you have the Jets, who actually were very formidable with no quarterback. Now have whatever Aaron Rodgers is, he's still a top 10 quarterback. So you throw him in there. The Bills aren't a favorite at all. I think they're on equal footing with those two teams. And where the other two teams are young coming up, they're older. Like Von Miller was a big part of their defense. He's old as sin. And who knows what he's going to be. And their offense, everyone, and I didn't get this. They're like, well, they're loaded. I'm like, they're not loaded. They have one dude who's undersized and Diggs, who quite often gets taken out of games, and then no one else. Their offense otherwise is in. So, like, he has to carry them a lot, and that's how quarterbacks die in the NFL, is having them run over defensive linemen time and time again, which is literally where most of their success came, was Josh Allen running, which is not a strategy for success long term. Yeah, where they were this overwhelming favorite. The Chiefs are better than them. The Dolphins and Jets are as good as them. And who knows what the Chargers should finally become a real team. They have a lot of talent on defense, and Herbert's a god, the savior, and they have loads of talent on offense. Like, the AFC is fucking insane, and the Bills are not head and shoulders above anyone anymore.
How much would American history have been altered if it came to pass that Paul Revere had the equivalent underneath him of a cheap claimer from Beulah Park? Instead of whatever wonder horse that he was riding that allowed him to get to the destination he needed to on time to issue the warning that would spare the entire, American foundation. What do you think? It would have been very deflating, but I don't know that it would have been as devastating as the knockout in the first round of the Boston Bruins, when the Bruins have been waiting a while now to be in this position. And to have that, I mean, just a phenomenal regular season, better than any other team in the history of the league, and a 3-1 lead over the 8th seed, the Florida Panthers, who, we didn't know because of a handful of games at the end of the regular season. All of a sudden, everybody was pumped. Oh, yeah, they got it together. It did not seem that way as they played games 3 and 4 here and looked like absolute cow manure. Did I say that right? Cow manure? Yeah.
Cow manure. Yes.
Shit is what I was looking for. Those were as deflating a couple of defeats as you could possibly experience as a local fan. I mean, the people left the arena there ash and white as they crossed over the parking lot at the mall across the street there. And, thought to themselves, well, thank God, at least I saved the $35 that it would have cost to park. You see this Drek is what it was. The French the French Joe Philbin, Paul Maurice, Chevalier, was tap dancing around the questions about his team. And you thought, yes, their destiny is sealed. There's no way that the Bruins lose 3 in a row. And they did. Pretty incredible, man. I mean, imagine you were parlaying these games on the money line, which they continue. I mean, is there a subliminal attack on the American economy that's being orchestrated by FanDuel and DraftKings that is eventually going to soak? Never mind. I mean, all of these people that are worried about raising the debt ceiling and whether or not you're going to see Congress come to terms with, what Joe Biden needs to see happen or the Democrats need to see happen or think they do. I mean, is there going to be an agreement there? Is this McCarthy willing to compromise at all?
No.
I don't think so.
No, I mean, I think there will be an agreement. I mean, like, I didn't realize you were going to say compromise.
Yeah.
There will be an agreement. It's grandstanding. He doesn't have any votes for anything because the Dems have the Senate, the Dems have the presidency, and even the biggest morons, as an MTG and Bobert and McCarthy, have to know if they don't do it, it fucking ruins everything. Like
doesn't McCarthy seem like completely useless? This guy.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
He just put into place.
I mean, they were pointing fingers at Pelosi for being an old bag all these years, which, I mean, maybe she was losing it a little bit. Who the hell knows? But this guy's like gone in space, is he not? He has no impact whatsoever. Anyway, if you would parlay, I mean, imagine, and FanDuel might be behind this, right? Where they're just going to suck the money out of everybody. They constantly during the games are putting up a graphic up in the upper right-hand corner that says, okay, right now, if as the Panthers fall behind like 3-2 with 15 minutes or so to go in the game, right now you can get this price if you're willing to do something completely mashugana, and that is bet on a team that looks like it's crumbling under the pressure.
They've just given up 3 straight goals. They've had 2 shots on goal over the course of a period and a half.
And they score on everything, right? Bobrovsky looks like he's completely lost it. He's floundering around, flopping around on the ice like a fish just reeled into a boat. And, the Panther defense, which was suspect all year, all of a sudden, here are the Bruins, and, they get a shot off, and they have 4 trailers coming at the
every time
at the net. You're like, wait a minute, man. Do we still have guys on the ice? I don't even know. Everybody becomes Don Cherry, too, after this stuff happens. That's the other great thing. And then, with the Heat beating the New York Knicks yesterday, and then the Marlins with a sweep, just an absolutely euphoric weekend. And I do think that Friday game between the Panthers and the Bruins was as exciting. I don't know. Was it the most exciting sporting event? I don't know that I could put it in that category in South Florida sports history, because you would have to say a couple of other things probably eclipse that, right? But close. I mean, they had some great thrillers, thrillers in that 96 run, including the Bill Lindsay goal. And, and these were early round playoff series. Still, I mean, keep this, and it should leave an indelible impression about how impossible it is to win the Stanley Cup. That was one round.
Yes.
I'm exhausted from watching these games, and it was only one round. And I was thinking, it wouldn't bother me if they lost as much, because I wouldn't have to be committed to, watching entire hockey games from bell to bell, timing everything out so you can be in front of a television set. Pretty amazing, right? But they'll have round 2 now against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Heat will go against the Knicks tomorrow, and with a chance to go up 2-0. And you would think an excellent chance to do that, and at the same time, then possibly moving on to are we getting ahead of ourselves here to the Eastern Conference Finals?
I think one game at a time. What frustrated me about the series was Knicks fans that were cocky, which I actually wasn't. I look, they had just beaten the Bucks in 5 games, and I was like, okay, we'll see what happens with this series. The Knicks are a tough team. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And Knicks fans are like, Knicks in 5, Knicks in 6. They have no shot. Jimmy can't do anything against them. It's like, dude, your defenders are not fucking Giannis and Drew Holiday. Like, Jimmy,
and their shooters are Stevie Wonder and Jose Feliciano.
He was held in check, and he had 25 points with 5 minutes left, and then he got hurt. Remember, with 5 minutes left when he got hurt, the other games he was putting up 20 fucking points with 5 minutes left. So like, he's still in a game where he was held in check at 25 points. You're not holding him in check, and that was my problem with the theories. Was the only reason I got even really agitated about this series was Knicks fans. What did you watch? Like, how did you watch those 2 last series and get cocky about your team? Like, my team looked better. Like, the Knicks were horrendous versus the Cavs. They won the series because their defense was really strong. Their offense was pathetic. So it's like, the Heat just shot the lights out. The Heat are actually right now the best offense in the playoffs. Whatever, if they hold it or not, how did you watch that and get cocky? Like, you may win the series, but I didn't understand the cockiness of the Knicks fan was really weird. It was like, you guys haven't been anything for 20 years. Your team, you're openly admitting you don't have a superstar. Your offense has been abysmal. The Heat are finding their way versus the best team in the playoffs, and now you're cocky? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't.
Jalen Brunson was horrible by his own admission in that game.
Put him nice numbers, and he's
even though he had 25 points. He
not
said
a superstar, and no one is. And then that's what's interesting about this team. And it's not a shot at the Knicks. It's just that's the kind of team you hope you win, and you're excited. You don't get cocky about. They're not the goddamn fucking Warriors. Like, it was just weird, and I was like, okay, we'll see if this series is what the Knicks fans think it is. Like, Okay, we'll see. And game one played out like the Heat did not play well in that first half. They played actually pretty horrible. They were missing everything.
Yeah,
They were not.
they caught up from like 11-5 right towards the end. Andy points out Curry. What did he have? 50 last night.
Yes, he had 50. He had the
A
most
120, 100 blowout after trailing at the half by Golden State. Sets up Golden State and the Lakers. Do you still believe, Lubie, that I was correct in telling you 5 months ago not to sleep on the Lakers, even when they were like 2-10?
I mean, I think the Lakers have played.
Are they in there with a shot against Golden State?
Warriors?
You would have to think yes.
Well, a shot, yeah. They have LeBron and Anthony Davis, and both are healthy right now. The Warriors are so weird, man. The fact that they didn't close out in 6 at home, I didn't understand. And then they demolished the Kings in Game 7. So they've sort of gotten over that road thing, which is their issue. So, yeah, if the Warriors can now win on the road, then you should be scared of them because they were the best team.
Klay Thompson was a bricklayer in the first half yesterday. I don't know if he came on in the second half. Didn't see that part of the game. But, yeah, so that's a marquee series. And then you already have Phoenix and Denver underway in the Western Conference. Phoenix goes down in game number 1. Denver handled them pretty easily, in spite of the fact that Durant was on his game and Devin Booker wasn't exactly out of it. Still, you had Jokic and company in control in that one and kind of breezing. A completely overlooked team in the NBA playoffs this year, the Denver Nuggets, the number 1 seed out of the West.
I've just forgotten. And they played
Nobody, is giving them much of a shot there or any consideration. And the entire focus now. I guess Phoenix is a marquee team since the Durant acquisition, but you would have to think that the entire universe is going to be infatuated with Golden State and the Lakers, as if this was a throwback series from a couple of years ago, which, you are talking about the 6th and 7th seeds going after each other. And is that right? Is it 6 and 7?
Yes, it is 6 and 7. It's fucking weird. In the NBA. It's like the NCAA tournament. It doesn't happen in the NBA.
Michigan, the competition and the parity in sports are just incredible. An 8 seed coming up big like the Panthers did in their contest and series with the Bruins. Just amazing, the stuff that's going on. And a Game 7 again tonight. The New Jersey Devils hosting the New York Rangers as the Rangers bounce back from the grave after a couple of horrible games. And, all of a sudden they were talking about, canning Gerard Gallant. Guy has been brilliant for them. They wanted him run out of town there and strung up and, maybe treated with the same level of indignity he was by the Florida Panthers, just thrown off the team bus. And have his duffel bag tossed out the window there by Jaromir Jagr. It's still an image that defies any sense of humanity that you could possibly have as upper level management and firing a guy. As disgraceful as most of those security accompanied exits were by guys at radio stations, for God's sake. A harmless dude like you, and you're being escorted out of the building by security.
I wasn't security. It was he was the APD. It was Jerry.
Right, like why do they need? They tell you you're fired. Are you not capable of walking out the door on your own? Right? As atrocious as the decision may be, and as shocking and surprising and unexpected as it might be, what are you going to do? You're going to take a baseball bat to the computer system? What are you going to do?
I'm not. You should know who the people are. I was there for 15 years.
I would be more worried if you came back than if you exited. Yeah.
I don't know. When I got laid off, I was only there 2 years, so maybe they didn't know. I was in my 20s. I was only there 2 years, so maybe they didn't know. The last time when I left, they didn't give a shit. So.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They let me in and out. What do you mean? I went back 3 different times after I left. So.
Very unusual, man. You obviously had great respect there.
We left on good terms. Yes.
Yeah.
They thought
they would even escort Neil Rogers out. He never got fired. He did. I guess he got chucked out of QAM at one point. Was that the last stop for Uncle Neil? I believe it was. And the ratings all of a sudden, it looked like, they went from the most enormous numbers you'd ever seen in radio history, Stern-like, to 0.0 Blutarsky when they switched the system to a completely feeble measuring barometer of, how to figure out who was listening to the radio and what channels they were tuned into. Right? You could be anywhere. You're wearing some kind of monitor. They had they kept sending them to my mother who was in her 90s. So the only music she was likely to catch was whatever happened to be on the speaker system at the clubhouse at Century Village, for God's sake. Not exactly inclined for most of those. And then 40 of those people had, these monitors. And, it would all register, for WLYF, and the likelihood that they would be tuning into an AM sports talk station, you would have to think was pretty slim, no? Okay, we're going to listen to a little sports talk here as you guys wait for the bus to take you to the mall. Incredible. All right, we're coming back with more Hialeah Park. Great things going on there. You have the Derby next week. Make a reservation to be in the Champion Simulcasting Room. And it is going to be festive. And then you have Mother's Day. They do all kinds of great things. I mean, the special events are really a great, great time to visit if you haven't been there lately. Beautiful Hialeah Park. I mean, I always love walking in there. You do feel like you're in like a Thoreau book here. Like all of a sudden you've entered utopia. And, the grounds are just really the kind of, it sounds like cliche to say, but they kind of, sort of take your breath away and make you feel like you just stepped off the face of the earth and all of the ugliness was set aside. And then you see this gleaming new casino where people are taking down like major jackpots, 24 dimes the other day. Taken down. It wasn't even the Royal Reels. It was another one of their games because the Royal Reels are just on fire at Hialeah Park. Steve Calibro wouldn't have it any other way, man. He has those machines calibrated to the point where you're in there with a big shot to win, And, they like to take care of their customers. They will with the rewards program they have. Get a player's card. You're going to love it. If you have a player's card at any other gaming establishment or organization, you will get equivalent status the minute you sign up. You just show them your card, your double secret platinum, supreme. No problem whatsoever. Double secret, platinum, supreme, and the equivalent thereof at Hialeah Park. And you get all the entitlements that go along with being, a very solid player and, a big-time member of the Hialeah Park family. For an individual casino to have a rewards program like that, very, very unusual. So you're going to enjoy that quite a bit. Great food and drink all over the place. Just a good time to be had by all. Open till 3 a.m. on the weeknights and 5 a.m. on the weekends. Special events, you want to schedule something, a catering deal, a party, check out hialeahpark.com for all the information on that. And make sure you make your plans, especially for Derby Day, to visit beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, coming back with more. Dave Hyde going to join us, Iron Eagle, in a little Defo show overtime today, along with Mike Lubie Lubitz. I'm Jeff DeForest, and we'll be back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
I thought that buffet was great yesterday at Gulfstream.
It was fantastic. Shirley and I were floored. It was amazing.
What a nice deal there. Yeah, it was like a regular, like a $50 deal. And, you would have to say as compared to other buffets where, you're also hanging out for like 4 or 5 hours at the races if you want to. And you can eat and drink the entire time.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it was great. And they don't rush you. There's a lot more. There's TV, so you can watch sports if you want. There's the races going on.
They're not out of everything after the first wave of people.
They have breakfast, they have lunch stuff, and it's good quality too. It's not just a buffet. Like it's a high quality brunch buffet where they let you just linger, which doesn't happen in most places.
Carving station was strong. I thought the omelet guy was great. He used to, he said, do ceremonies where they'd have like, 1,000 Jewish people at, some, service in Sunrise. He said he was doing omelets, all the way back then when he was like 15 years old. I said, were there many complaints? And he said, that's all they do is bitch. Unbelievable. So I made sure I wadded up a couple of ones and put them in the jar there. No, he did a great job. It was fantastic. So thank you, Joe Beja, good friend of the program, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox Show. And, that was great yesterday at Gulfstream Park. We thank the people who came out. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
Day 28.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
This comes from the great Defo Lama. It's the bets you don't make, the chances you don't take, that can compromise an otherwise incredible life, my friend.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
Still a lot to do on this Peeling Yourself Off the Mat Monday. About 15 minutes from now, we're going to talk to Sun Sentinel columnist, extraordinary gentleman, the great Dave Hyde, who's been following all of this. And it was Dave Hyde that kind of turned us around on this, and he's absolutely right. Absolutely right. I used to think, and, it's probably is something that it would be better not to admit to, but I think we have before, that it was better to root against all of the local teams in every game that they play. From our standpoint, Lubie. Because negativity sells. I mean, that was the nature of this business. Cynicism, sarcasm, negativity. You wanted to cry and fetch about your team. Much like, I guess there's parallel there with this Let's Eat South Florida thing that we're doing with Mike Mayo. And, there with the Mike Mayo Lunchbox, which is on this Facebook page, also telecast there. And, it gets a lot of response. It's amazing. But, the people mostly fetch and bitch on this site.
Yes.
And they love to pile on. Like somebody has to kind of pry a can of worms open. And then once that, if there's even the slightest glimmer of an opening, all of a sudden everybody piles on. It doesn't matter what the place is. It might be a great place, an iconic place like Runway 84 or our good friends at Tropical Acres. As soon as, the door is open and somebody says, you know what? The pasta was cold, and, I couldn't get my, waiter's attention here. He only gave us 2 meatballs. We're supposed to get 3.
And I love the complaints. My favorite is a place that, like, when we'll talk to tons of people, and everyone raves about it. Everyone that knows what they're going to get at this place, they know what the theme is, they know the style, loves it. You go to the site, and it's all these people that either have never been or they haven't been in like 15 years. And they have these weird expectations.
Yes.
So they're like nitpick. Well, this and that. And then she spilled the wine. I'm like, so wait, you're going on a page to bitch about someone spilling the wine? Like, spilling the wine? Who gives a shit that they spilled the wine? Like, what are you talking about? I'm like,
shit happens. Yeah, exactly.
Like, you just want to bitch. Like, who gives a shit? Like, so you really go to a place and expect nothing bad to happen at all. And if anything bad happens, that place sucks. I can't go back. Like, what is wrong with you people?
Well, even if it does, maybe you don't want to go back, but do you have to tell the world about it? I guess part of the game is that they are issuing a warning to other people that, some place that has this big time reputation or whatever, and maybe is high priced and popular establishment to go to, see and be seen, whatever, that it's just not worth it. Which, people are entitled to that opinion, and if it's done sort of diplomatically, that's one thing, but usually the complaint is very one-sided, not necessarily completely founded in truth, without the consideration of allowing the restaurant to make amends, and then the way people pile on, it's just incredible. Very much like the sporting world, where where for years I really believed this. That you were much better off if the local teams lost, if they failed, if they fell on their face. Maybe not to the point where they were so bad that they were irrelevant completely, but especially teams that had promise and, were constantly selling. And this applies to all cities, not just South Florida, constantly selling their fan base a bunch of false hope. Now, some teams, and this gets back to your argument with Brian Schwartz, the fans thrive on that false hope. They live by it. They can't wait for it to come and manifest itself in reality, like Met fans for years or Cub fans.
But I think that's what I've talked about. And Andy sort of got it. I don't know if Brian got it. He sort of did I guess you're not wrong in that regard. You've built that up over decades of losing. Yes. Your franchise has been around so long and lost so long that
you're accustomed to it.
I'm accustomed to, this is how sports are. You win once every 50 years. You're going to lose. You expect to lose, and it's okay. When your franchises are new, first of all, the only franchise we had won out of the gate. The
Yes.
fucking Dolphins in the first 5 years of existence became possibly the best team ever. So if that's how you're born into sports, how can you have any expectations but to win? Then the Canes, who didn't exist at all, went on to be possibly the best team over a decade span.
Almost two, yeah.
If that's your birth into sports, how can you expect us to be like Boston fans who hadn't won in 100 fucking years? Met fans who hadn't won in 30 fucking years? Yankee fans who won a lot and then didn't win for decades? Like, that's my problem, is you're comparing us to cities that are used to losing. Why would we be used to losing? The Heat, who are only around 7 years, get Pat Riley and become the standard of the sport. The Marlins, who are around for a week and a half, win a World Series. The Panthers are around 3 years, are in the Stanley Cup, taking out Mario Lemieux, Cam Neely, and Eric Lindros. Like, this is what we're born to. Like, why would you expect anything? That's my problem. It's like, you can call us bad fans. No, we're spoiled. We're strange. It's not about bad. You guys are used to losing. It's born. When you're a Met fan or a Jet fan, you're born with, we're going to lose.
Oh, it's inherent, man. I mean, you know that it's going to be bad forever. A Cub fan, can you imagine? Even a Red Sox fan. I mean, they were doomed to failure for so many years before they finally were able to overcome the curse of the Bambino. And think about that. But Dave Hyde mentioned this, that it's much better for business, where he was concerned, if the teams do well. And I believe that to be true.
Yes.
Because as much as people like to complain, they still don't mind being psychotic, McSugana, about their team's chances of actually going further towards winning a championship. But let's face it, Lubie, are we not better off that the Panthers, us personally, that the Panthers scored that goal in overtime instead of the Bruins? Where you could have still, tipped your hat, so to speak, the proverbial hat, and said, hey, that was a great series no matter what the outcome. To play, a tooth and nail, had the Panthers lost this thing with the Boston Bruins like that, take them to a seventh game. Brilliant. They did accomplish one of the things that they set out to do, which was to change the dynamic of the team. So instead of necessarily generating a bunch of regular season success and then flaming out in the postseason, even if they didn't have the same regular season success, they were going to be solid in the postseason because they had one tough mofo in this Matt Tkachuk. And he was going to be a guy that was a catalyst, and they got Montour going, Verhaeghe ends up coming up with a couple of big plays in the series, even though he wasn't overwhelmingly, important in terms of the offensive flow. But as a 40-goal scorer, you were thinking maybe you would get more out of him. But came up big in a couple of spots there late in the series. So much better, is it not? And I will talk to Dave Hyde about this, having this kind of wave of euphoria that we're experiencing right now. And gives us now the Knicks Heat series, if it goes a distance, will stretch into almost June.
Yeah.
I believe it's May 15th will be Game 7. Think about that. We're at May 1st right now. This is where every year I traditionally have some kind of personal epiphany, or at least to attempt to, because I realize I have probably a total of 10 weeks to my birthday, which every year I resolve to try and get it together and make one last push at living a great life, right? A second chance at living a first-class life. And that's from all standpoints, right? Talking about not just monetarily, but health and happiness and all of that. I mean, there's not that much time left to be bitter and irritated about things. How can you do it when people are checking out, well before my age, and certainly right around it right now with just another wave of people checking out in their early 70s that we've seen, including, and this was a guy that was a popular figure, with fans in a lot of places. Do you remember a player named Mike Shannon? Who played a long time ago, but he was big with the Cardinals. Did he also play for the Mets, Mike Shannon? I want to say for some reason, yes.
Maybe Andy knows. I mean, I'll look him up. I actually don't know that name.
Mike Shannon. Well, he became a broadcaster and was in the broadcast booth for like 50 years, this guy. And was very popular. He was one of the first guys to really be kind of candid about his team and come up with, a lot of comments that weren't necessarily 100% shilled, and sounded like they were scripted by the front office. Well, we're down 17-1, but don't forget, you can bring your dog to the ballpark tomorrow night.
It says just the Cardinals. Like, he literally.
Okay, yeah. It wasn't. I'm thinking maybe of Art Shamsky. Was he like a Cardinal in a Met? Art Shamsky. Remember this guy?
I know from you, Art Shamsky. I wouldn't know him otherwise.
Shamsky. I think we had him on the air, Shamsky, a couple of times.
We did have
Definitely
him on
was a Met because he's been part of a couple of Met
celebration,
deals down here where come in fantasy camps and all of that stuff. Anyway, he checked out. I think he was in his early 70s, man. It's getting kind of brutal here. With I'm looking at the numerology on this, and it's not favorable to a guy that was about to approach 72. So, do you think I can do it, Lubie? Epiphany here, and it's going to take some changes. Even though I think I was doing okay with a bunch of things, going full bore. I'm going all Miami Heat culture on this. What do you think? Can I do it? Pull it off? 10 weeks is all I need to do. Dedication.
Sure.
To the cause.
Whatever you say.
No, everything hurts, Louie. That's the problem.
I know you enough to know that
everything fucking hurts. Dedicated in all phases of life.
Dedication, baby.
No, because you want to go out the door feeling good, do you not?
Oh,
I mean,
sure,
you don't want to be thinking, "Oh my God, I could have done a lot more with my life here."
No.
Not that I don't have time to make amends for all the mistakes that I've made, but I do have time. And maybe you just have to go through the process like the Panthers tried to do this year of reinventing yourself once in a while. No. What do you think? Just putting a line in the sand there and saying, okay, that's it. I'm divorcing myself from the past. And I think maybe fans have to suspend some of the things that they believed about these teams because of past endeavors. There is a faith in the Miami Heat. So it doesn't come as any big surprise. Maybe this year when they were about to get knocked out of the playoffs altogether, and all of you people who thought, oh, geez, what do you want to make the playoffs for? How stupid do you feel right now? As dumb as we did by predicting all of this absolute, outright failure that we were anticipating over the weekend from the local clubs, which all came through like champs. And Jersey Kyle says he owes you money, Lubie, so don't be afraid to collect.
I'm sure he does.
Because he said he went anti-Lubie, money line on all the games that you picked that were going to be catastrophic for the locals. And, he's been cashing tickets right and left at about 2 and 3 to 1. Pretty incredible. All right, we're going to come back and talk to Dave Hyde in just a sec. Don't forget about Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. Seeing some ads for places in the lower Keys to get down there. Man, I mean, it's just a different vibe. You talk about Hialeah, and you feel like you stepped off the face of the planet and have a whole new atmosphere. And maybe if you want to accomplish, or maybe trigger this epiphany that I'm looking to do over the next couple of months, the Keys might be a good place to start it out. Or maybe even wind it up and say, hey, as a reward for all of this hard work that I'm doing, let me get down to the Keys and relax for a while. And there's no better place than Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Great food and drink, tremendous atmosphere, all kinds of water sports and activities. You can really enjoy all of Key Largo, especially if you're staying there at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Combinations are absolutely exquisite. Check those out at jimmyjohnsonsbigchill.com. Check out the menu because it really is just innovative and amazingly varied in the different things that you can have there. Everything from their outrageously fantastic pork nachos to the finest of seafood dishes. Really creative job that they do with all of their pizzas there. And, pretty much anything that you want. They're there to accommodate, man. It's almost like going to Las Vegas with a view. It's fantastic, and yet they have bands going all day long. You can watch all of the sporting events there. You can just sit in the pool there and sip cocktails. Fantastic place to relax and unwind. Mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, a great place to go. All right, stick around. A couple of dynamite people coming up on the show. People we really love having on. Dave Hyde of the Sun Sentinel, of course, with a great local perspective. And then we expand the horizons to a national, worldwide perspective with Ian Eagle, who'll be calling the Heat game against the New York Knicks tomorrow on TNT. So he'll have a lot of insight into that. We'll be back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
8:43. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Hi, guys. If I could squeeze in two. One is just, can you say with certainty that Jimmy Garoppolo will be on the roster on Sunday?
I can't guarantee that anybody in the world will be alive Sunday, so I can't guarantee who will be on our roster on Sunday. So that goes for all of us.
From South Florida to the entire world, thank you to the iHeartRadio app. Here is Defo joined by Lubie on The Defo Show.
The in-depth responses that you get when doing a sports press conference, as Kyle Shanahan completely dodges a question with the most vague answer in the history of any press conference ever held. Welcome back to the show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz, and always a pleasure to have this gentleman at a time. And we were just saying that you flipped our philosophy completely on these matters, Dave Hyde of the Sun Sentinel, when you were telling us that our team's doing well in South Florida is much better for business than what we thought was really the driving force behind everything that happened on Sports Talk Radio, and that was complete negativity and paranoia. And we're having that right now. I mean, good a run as we've ever had in the history of South Florida sports, at least as long as I've been down here. It seems that way anyway. How are you, Dave Hyde, and what do you think about what's going on?
We have never had a month like this past month.
Yeah.
We got starting the Final Four, FAU and Miami.
I have kind of a funky connection here, Lubie. You might have to get a dial back there with Dave Hyde, who was alluding to the idea. I mean, this does seem like it was centuries ago, but I mean, what a run to have two teams in the Final Four, college basketball teams, in a town that was not conducive necessarily to having success and or any interest in college basketball. We've been saying that forever, as the University of Miami was hard-pressed to get attention, and then started selling out. It seemed like they became more than just a cult thing, but the FAU Owls coming out of nowhere to be a Final Four team and very nearly making it into the championship game, came a lot closer than UM did against UConn in the semis. Just amazing. And now this, where every story, is Cinderella. Dave, hopefully we have a better connection. Once again, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I think we're being sabotaged.
It could be, man. I don't know. Maybe by some angry Knick fans. All right. Where do you want to begin? I mean, we're looking at you. You started talking about the college basketball success, and then we now pile on two teams in the postseason that are, doing well beyond anybody's wildest expectations. Uh-oh. That's not a good sign.
It's weird.
Silence on the other end of the horn there.
Back. Hold on.
All right. Well, try one more time with Dave Hyde, as the technical difficulties certainly putting a little bit of a spike into this show here, a glitch that we weren't anticipating. Ian Eagle is going to join us just after 9 o'clock, so hopefully we'll be able to make a nice connection with him, because he's always great. And we'll try and once again bring you Dave Hyde and his thoughts. This will be a triple clutch on the same kind of generic question, which is, hey, things are going great, Dave. So what do you think? Are we ready for the triple clutch?
We're locking him in. No, he's here. We're locking him in, and when he's locked in, he'll be all yours. Just take
okay. All right.
1 second. He is right there with you right now.
All right. Dave, you want to go for take 3?
Let's go take 3, okay?
Oh, you sound good now, man.
You sound
Sorry
great
about
now.
that.
Yeah.
Is this better?
Sounds
much
good.
better. No, you're 1,000% coming in here. So yeah, the fans are going ape. I mean, I don't even know that we've even gotten over the impact or even realized the full impact of the college basketball success. But 2 Cinderella stories working in both the NBA and the NHL playoffs.
Historic upsets for the ages, both of them, and you can argue which one was bigger. You know, the Panthers are down with a minute left. Are you kidding? They pulled the goalie. And Paul Maurice was asked about, how confident were you of tying the game up? And he paused and he said something to the effect, I'm debating how honest to be with you. I mean, that tells you how. And then Montour scores the tying goal. Was it Montour? Yeah. And then Verhaeghe scores in overtime, and it was telling to see the celebration of the Panthers on one side of the glass on the ice, and right behind them are the Boston fans with faces in stone. They can't believe what's just happened. I mean, here's their team that set regular season records for points and wins in the NHL, and they're beaten by the team with the 17th best record in the league. It was shocking, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, let's face it, winning and covering winning teams, being around winning teams is a lot more fun than being around losing teams. We've been around for all but the Heat for the last quarter century.
Well, and you kind of changed our opinion on that because, we always believe that this business especially, I don't know if it applies as much to sports writing, but just thrived completely on negativity and maybe it was laziness on the part of most sportscasters that were doing sports talk at the time because, you would say, hey, you know what? The Panthers suck. Okay, we'll open up the phone lines. And you would just get the relentless attack from people that, were hard pressed to, tell you reasons why they thought this was true. But nonetheless, we're ready to jump on a bandwagon and attack virtually everybody. As deflating as it was, I mean, was this Bucky fucking Dent all over again? What did you think? I mean, for the Boston fans, and I love this aspect of it, probably relatively unnoticed, but behind the penalty box, the advertising on the wall was for a place called Bob's Discount Furniture.
There you go.
Which you would think, the way that they always like throw a stick at the chair when they come in the penalty box, was very, very appropriate. I mean, I thought that was a clever, piece of advertising, subtle advertising. But they looked stunned. I mean, more stunned than when they found out Rosie Ruiz took a subway to the 25-mile mark in the Boston Marathon.
The lead in the Boston Globe's game story today was something to the effect in one of the greatest collapses in Boston sports history.
Yes,
and from their perspective, and from hockey's perspective, nobody. Matthew Tkachuk said it best. He goes, "Nobody in the world expected us to be here." This was before Game 7, and then to not only win Game 7, but win in that fashion where they score a goal with a minute to go and win in overtime, just shocking. And now they're on their way to Toronto, and this is how quickly it changes, isn't it? They barely have time. I'm sure they celebrated last night, but today they're waking up and they're on their way to Toronto for the next series.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I mean, there was some speculation before the series that the matchup was more favorable because the Panthers had beaten the Bruins a couple of times, but down 3-1. And, I would have to say, too, that Game 6, it always seems, we say it all the time, Dave, the most recent one always seems like the best. But that Game 6 at the Florida Live Arena was, for my estimation, as exciting a game as I've witnessed or watched of Panther hockey in the team's 30-year history. I thought it was even better than some of the games they had in that 96 playoff run.
Well, I can still hear the cheers from Mike Huff scoring an overtime goal against Philadelphia, I believe.
Yeah.
But it's up there. Certainly, let's put it this way, in anybody's memory in the past quarter century for the Panthers, it's off the charts, not even close. The biggest home game that they won. And the thing about a run like this, a series like this, is you see Matthew Tkachuk's star going up from a great player to a one of the elites in the NHL. This raises profiles, and you talk about scoring and plays, but not just that. The whole fire he brought, the edge, the feistiness, the fights. He changed the whole personality of the team this year, and whatever Tyreek Hill did to the Dolphins offense is what Tkachuk did to the Panthers this year.
Well, I was literally, and you've been doing this a long time because you led me right into it. That literally, Huberdeau was a talent. Like Huberdeau last year was an MVP candidate. Huberdeau was amazing, and we've seen it. We saw the 2 straight postseasons. The minute they got there, and you had to ratchet up the physicality, you had to ratchet up the intensity. The team went by way of him and Barkov. They're very low key, even keel dudes, and that is not playoff hockey. Matthew Tkachuk is not that. The dude is literally a fire starter ready to go, and he plays that way. And is it that simple just to say Matthew Tkachuk really turned it? Because it feels like the minute he got out there and that last month and then the playoffs, they believed in themselves a lot of because of him.
Well, remember the what was it, game 2 or might have been game 3. At the end of the game, he took a run at the goalie.
Yes. Yeah, Allmark, sure. That was great, man. That was fantastic.
It was an Allmark moment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And see what I did there?
That was beautiful. Yeah, that was very Mayo-esque.
Then he took on the whole Boston team. It seemed like, right, in a fight, and that. Look, we can sit here and argue about where's the place for that? But for this team, which, as Louis said, lacked a spark last year, and give Bill Zito credit, the Panthers general manager. He saw it, and when Tkachuk was on the market, it was a no-brainer of a trade. You got younger, you got better, you got the kind of spark or heart that this team needed, and you saw it pay dividends here down the stretch of the regular season, when they just were huffing and puffing to make it into the playoffs, and then to take on a heavyweight like Boston and come out on top. Tkachuk now, by NHL standards, is among the elite after a series like that.
Rebel without a cause, man. He was fantastic and shaking things up. I loved it when he got in there with Allmark and they're exchanging punches, because anytime you see a goalie in a fight, just exhilarating entertainment on the NHL front. All right, speaking of goalies, and anybody would know that you can't win without really, stellar goaltending, especially as the playoffs progress. We've seen a couple of guys that were normally very reliable in that spot already eliminated in the postseason, as Tampa Bay is out, and you have the defending Stanley Cup champion being eliminated by a second-year expansion franchise last night, with Colorado going out of the postseason. Alex Lyon was a Cinderella story coming into the postseason. He ends up getting benched for Bobrovsky. A lot of people were spitting up pea soup, like Linda Blair in The Exorcist, when that change was made, and they thought, oh no, this is the ruination of any chance we have. Bobrovsky acquitted himself pretty well. I mean, not overwhelmingly so, but how suspect is the Panther goaltending, figuring that they're going to sustain, Bobrovsky in the pipes right now?
He played well. I mean, look, in game 6, was it game 6? They're all blending together. He stopped Marchand on that breakaway to keep the series alive. Yeah. He came up with saves last night. I don't think either goalie, won or lost the game last night. I mean, they all had their moments. Swayman for Boston stopped Tkachuk on the breakaway, and
that was big.
That would have won it. But you can't say one was better than the other or cost. Look at the winning goal. Bennett and Tkachuk dig the puck out from behind the net, fighting with that's Boston's top line out there, top defenseman. They win the puck, pass to Verhaeghe, and then Tkachuk goes and stands in front of Swayman to the perfect screen. I mean, he couldn't see the puck though. He looked behind him and it's in the net. So moving forward, Bobrovsky's the goalie, but as you saw with Boston last night, where Allmark, the best goalie in the league, was replaced by Swayman at the start. I would think at some point maybe they go back to Lyon again. We'll see.
All right, and quick thought here on the Miami Heat, who go up 1-0 over the New York Knicks. Lubie loves it. I mean, absolutely loves it because he loves to engage Knick fans in arguments about who's the better team. And there did seem to be, overwhelming confidence on the part of the New York Knicks fans that their team would be superior and demonstrate to be as such. And they lose game one, which, again, here we are. I mean, similar to Milwaukee, although I guess there's some parallels there with Randall out, as was Antetokounmpo for game two. But a real free swing here. And it seems like, somehow miraculously from about the midway point of the fourth quarter against Chicago on, the Heat have found what FAU had that helped them so much, which is our new term, late game resiliency. And they seem to be very efficient in the end game, whereas, you would expect this of the opposition. But Miami's been dominating in late game situations.
Yeah, and they did it yesterday with Jimmy Butler on one ankle, and that's of course the question moving forward: how bad's that ankle? But look, when they had their playing game against Atlanta and lost, I thought, okay, they're done. Because if ever they were going to turn it on and become the team that they talked about all regular season, that would have been the game, and they looked awful. They looked like they have in the regular season, so I thought, okay, that's who they are.
Yep. And
then, as you said, they win the Chicago game. They come back in the fourth quarter and play strong. And I never really understood why. I get why New York's favored in the series because they're the 4th seed and they just had a really good series against Cleveland. But the Heat are coming off beating Milwaukee in 5 games.
Yes.
Milwaukee had the best record in the league. They had, the reigning, if not the best player in the league, the guy right there. And yeah, he was hurt for a couple games, but the Heat won 3 games with him on the court.
Yes.
And so, we'll see. Injuries are going to play a huge role in this series, clearly. The Knicks have Julius Randle out. The Heat now with Jimmy Butler. They already have Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo out. It might just be who can line up and play that is going to win the series. We'll have to watch it play out.
All right, a lot of fun. Now, are you traveling at all to these games, Dave Hyde?
I don't know. I'm waiting to hear whether Defo has paid for the Sun Sentinel subscription, which will allow me to.
I have that $1 deal going for the 6 months, and I'm already complaining about it.
You're still weighing that, whether you want to go that far into the subscription.
Actually, Bonnie put up the money
for $1.
Bonnie put up the money for me, and she wasn't getting her paper. I don't know. The delivery somehow is always suspect in these spots. As I always anxiously await the arrival of my New York Post every morning. All right, Dave, a lot of fun, man, and you're doing some great stuff. We appreciate it. It's always nice to have something positive to write about, like you said. And, and people will eventually, continue to jump on the bandwagon, and we might be able to. We haven't had this feeling here since what, 1996, 97?
97, yeah.
With everybody involved, including the Marlins, who swept the Cubs over the weekend and may not be as bad as we originally thought. So there's another story that might develop and evolve into something, or so we hope, as the season progresses. Thanks so much, Dave. It's always a pleasure. We'll catch you working at sunset.
One request. Can the league quit scheduling these teams on the same day? Tuesday, it'll be, I think it's at the same time. I haven't looked at the starting times, but I assume it's at the same time. I mean, come on now. There's only so much a heart can take, right?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was strapped in old Sparky, waiting for Whitey to pull the plug there, flip the switch. That was a stressful game, was it not? To watch, the Heat Knicks. I wasn't expecting, that to decide the series, even though it was good to see the Heat win. But that Panther game was excruciating against the Bruins. That was a tough view. No matter who you were rooting for, it was enough to drive you crazy. All right, Dave, we love you, man. Thanks so much for being with us here on the show. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we're going overtime, as you can see, and for good reason. We want to bring you our good friend Ian Eagle. That's coming up in just a sec here on the program. I'm Jeff DeForest. That is Mike Lubitz. And when we return with more OT on the Defo Show and Appeal Yourself Off the Mat Monday, the great and very versatile Ian Eagle will join us here on the show. So we'll be back with that in a moment. Now that.
The time.
9:04.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Brilliant on basketball, brilliant on football, play-by-play. Ian Eagle with us here on 940 Wins, 1230 The Zone. Did you ever consider, with your fascination with professional wrestling as a child, following in the footsteps of Mean Gene Okerlund or the great Gordon Soley down here in the Deep South and becoming a wrestling announcer?
Mean Gene was a hero of mine. I'm not one that ever got nervous around famous people, but I ended up in an Atlanta airport on the escalators, and who was on my escalator going up but Mean Gene, about 3 steps ahead of me. 3 steps ahead of me. I didn't have a chance to introduce myself. I just gave it hey, Mean Gene, love your stuff. And he turned around and waved and then walked off into the beautiful Atlanta sky. And that was the end of it.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show, the Defo Show. We're in a little OT. It almost seems like we're in the NHL playoffs, where they had 15 overtime games, including last night's thriller in Manila. It was actually in Beantown, and they were spitting up chowder after the Florida Panthers prevailed over the Boston Bruins, the President's Trophy team, which carries a bit of a curse with it, because those teams have not made the Stanley Cup final, I believe, in the last 10 years. They have all gone down in flames. This guy, it's only a matter of time before you hear him talking about a tradition like no other. He's been closing in on a lot of the premier jobs there at CBS for a long period of time. And you can always hear him from, Amen Corner saying, "Hello, friends." As we welcome a great friend of the program, the great Ian Eagle joins us here on the show. Ian, how are you?
Hey, what's up, Defo Lubie? What's happening?
Good morning.
How easy would it be compared to what you're doing now with all the names that you have to become familiar with? And, you're doing football and basketball and college basketball to just say Tiger for par and then lay out for like another 15 minutes.
I actually ended up doing the Masters for 6 years. It was on their
right?
Really?
DirecTV. Yeah, DirecTV. CBSSports.com, PGA.com. That's when they started having all those feeds.
Yeah.
Amen Corner live feed is what I was assigned to. I had never been to a golf tournament in my life. I never attended one. And the first golf tournament that I went to was the Masters to work that event. So it was very cool, I must say, very unique. Every hole is like a postcard. Everything that you see on TV is real. It feels very much historic when you're walking the grounds. But I will add this part to it. You have to stay in people's homes. There are not enough hotels to house all of the broadcasters, media, and staff. So one of the years, and it all depends on who your roommates are and where you rate. One of the years, I slept in a 5-year-old's racing car bed. That's what I came down to.
Did Shirkinian ever admit to piping in the bird noise, or can you
No,
tell
not,
us if the birds
not
were
during
real?
my watch. No, not during my watch. They had real birds when I was there, as far as I know.
All right, let's get down to the real matters here. And obviously you're going to be doing the Heat Knicks game tomorrow. I don't know, were you at the game yesterday? Oh, yeah, first
No,
game of the series? No.
no,
Okay.
just watched it on TV.
All right. Well, then you probably noticed, as we did, that I don't know that the fans in the Garden were ever as stunned. I mean, it has to go all the way back to when it was announced prior to the start of the match that Bruno Sammartino's plane was late, and Arnold Skolin was going to be in the grudge match against Gorilla Monsoon. And the faces in the crowd were, I mean, horrified that, oh my God, Skolin, the golden boy from White Plains, who would never won a match, was going to be in the place of the great Bruno Sammartino. Of course, legend would have it, Sammartino showed up late and beat Monsoon, saving the life of Skolin in the process. But have you ever seen New York fans as stunned as they were after they fell apart in the second half yesterday?
Yeah, it's amazing, Defo. You knew exactly what I was thinking. Man, I thought to myself, no one's going to see this, and then boom, there's Defo with the perfect. Not dated at all.
No. Sammartino, think about that.
Money, as usual. No, that took a turn. The way that the Garden was juiced up to open up the game, the first quarter into the second quarter, and even as Miami closed the gap at the end of the first half, you could sense a little bit of nervousness and tentativeness. And then third quarter, it just turned and it got really quiet. I thought Kevin Love came in and made some things happen. Butler was tremendous throughout, right up until the injury, and even the question marks after the injury, that the Knicks did not attack him and did not look to go at him. Whoever he was defending, at least instinctually, should have had the ball in his hands at some point on those next three possessions where they turned it over three straight times. So interesting what the adjustments are going to be. Interesting to see if Jimmy can even play in game two, or if the coaching staff, Eric Spoelstra, decides, hey, look, we got the split. Let's not push this. Let Jimmy Butler recover. Let him get some days off. And you see how the series is set up. They don't play again until Saturday.
They get 6 days
that's
off.
Wednesday.
Yeah, that's a beautiful
Thursday,
thing.
Friday off. So it'll go Saturday, Monday, Wednesday. So you definitely want to make sure your guys are ready for that.
Nick, fans and the press were looking to run Tom Thibodeau out of town beginning of the season. They weren't exactly lighting the world on fire. Later on, they fell in love with the guy. But the thing with Thibodeau, doesn't he look like, I don't know if you've ever been out, I would imagine this has happened to you, where you're seeing the guys going either out of or back to the central location for all the hot dog carts. And you see a guy on a rainy, cold, wintry day just pushing this hot dog cart, and you're thinking, this poor schlep, I hope he made a couple of hundred today. Is Thibodeau morphing into one of those guys, Emily, just from an appearance standpoint?
He's a great guy to talk to, I got to tell you. When
okay.
Down with him. Yeah. He's a basketball savant. He's actually got a really good sense of humor, and he's a lifer. Like this has really, truly been his life. And to be at this stage of his career, to finally get some credit, because you're right. The way the season started, Knicks fans were not feeling the vibe, and there were different parts of the season where the same could be said. And to see this team actually emerge the way that they did, play a fun style of basketball. Julius Randle not being there, certainly an issue. Miami's got their own injury issues without Tyler Hero, without Victor Oladipo. But I think this team has been resilient, and knowing what I've known from Jalen Brunson this season, I would be surprised if he lays back-to-back eggs. I think they'll come back strong, and the Knicks will look more like the team that you saw against Cleveland in Game 2.
It seems like with all the sabermetrics analytics, a lot boils down to three-point shooting percentage. The Knicks literally spray hitting as if it was a ballistic missile test in North Korea with Kim Jong-un. I had to work that in by obligation. Where these missiles could land anywhere. I mean, one hits the Eiffel Tower, and Un is sitting there going, I didn't know anything about that. What are you talking about? They were horrible in this game one. And that was not atypical of the way they shot the ball from three in the regular season. They were among the worst teams, as were the Heat, oddly. But things seem to have changed for the Miami Heat. All of a sudden, it's no longer Stevie Wonder pulling the trigger on those 3-point shots.
Yeah, so your over-under today was 1.5 dictators.
Almost there. You're right.
Believe me, I couldn't sleep until I thought about this. I know you were coming on the show.
You had to work that in.
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder reference, I didn't have that, so that could be a new over-under that we developed. Ray Charles may come up. I don't know.
Feliciano is the next on the list. Yeah.
Jose Feliciano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant anthem he did that time. Yeah.
The way the league is set up now, 3-point shooting is such a big part of this current style of basketball. And I don't know if you guys watched Game 7, Golden State, Sacramento.
Yes.
Incredible display, right? Steph Curry, 50 points. The guy is brilliant. I think we may even take for granted his greatness in some ways, just because he's made it seem so normal and regular to hit 3-pointers from every possible angle, to do it off one leg, off balance shots. Add to the fact with Curry, by the way, he's not just a 3-point shooter. This is not Kyle Korver. This is someone that gets to the rim, that has these incredible spins around the rim. So a guy that's not large, but finds a way, a creative way to finish. And then what he's doing as a point guard still has to be applauded. But the larger scope that you were talking about is 3-point shooting in this series. And it may come down to that. It just might be as simple as that. Who shoots better per game in that category? Miami was 33%. That would not be considered outstanding by any stretch in NBA playoff standards. The Knicks were 21%.
Yeah.
And even if you look at some of the other numbers, guys, the Knicks shot 48% from the field. Miami shot 42% from the field. Free throw shooting problem for the Knicks. 12 of 20, 8 misses at the line. Miami missed 6, but they took 29.
Yeah.
Miami got out-rebounded in the game, 48-39, but they only turned it over 9 times.
Yeah.
I think Eric Spoelstra is one of the best guys doing it in the NBA. I think he understands matchups really well. And when you put him in these situations, as we've seen during championship runs with incredible talent, yes, but even the bubble and other playoff runs, including last year, where they don't have the bomb squad that some other teams have, they find a way. They always find a way. So that's a real thing. That Heat culture is very much a tried and true phenomenon and philosophy that Pat Riley has put in, and it's still working all these years later. All these guys that weren't drafted, that's what blows me away, that Gabe Vincent can score 20 points in an important playoff game, and that Caleb Martin will play minutes that matter, and Max Strus has a legitimate role on this team. And you can go on and on and on. This is nothing new for the Heat. They just keep doing it, and they tend to do it better than everybody else.
So you said something I find interesting. You talked about, are we taking Steph Curry for granted? And then I almost did it myself by asking about the Warriors and Lakers. Then I remembered, oh, shoot, the Denver Nuggets are the 1 seed still. They demolished the Suns. Are we taking them for granted? Because the Suns, they go and get Durant, but they only play 8 games in the regular season together. Now I guess they played like 13 games together. The Lakers now, Devo's favorite with LeBron and AD. The Warriors, the defending champions who finally are winning on the road. The Nuggets have won the whole year. They've won the whole playoffs. For once, Murray, Gordon, and Porter Jr. are staying healthy, and they have possibly the best player in the NBA in Jokic. Talking about taking for granted, is that what we're doing with the Nuggets? Like, why are we totally disregarding the Nuggets? And I hear no one talking about them at all.
Yeah, I think they've been disregarded because of past failures, and we tend to look at what the team has done before. Now, the difference, Jamal Murray is healthy and motivated and looking like an all-NBA performer. And that man has been money throughout this postseason, and I don't see anybody on the Phoenix Suns that can stop him. The Suns are not very deep. Sure, they've got the star power with Durant and Booker and an aging Chris Paul, but the pieces don't seem to fit together. And I know it's only just one game, but there were concerns going into this series. The Suns had trouble with a seriously undermanned LA Clippers team that just kept fighting and fighting and fighting. And although the series just went 5 games, a few of those games could have gone the other way. And I think that's what raised some concerns about Phoenix moving forward. Denver's a team. Denver's done this all year, and the Nuggets have been building towards this. Anything short of a conference finals appearance is going to be trouble in Denver, and maybe even trouble for the head coach. Mike Malone's done an excellent job there, but as we know, patience is something that isn't always part of the thought process when it comes to ownership groups, because they want results. This team has the look of a team that could 100% go to the NBA Finals, but if you still have Golden State in there or the LA Lakers, I don't know if they'll be favored in that series. So to your point, Lubie, you're right. I do think a lot of NBA fans are sleeping on Denver because it's just not a really sexy pick. The interesting part, I don't know if you guys caught this note, but it's never happened in NBA playoff history. We're in the second round of the NBA playoffs. Every seed is represented.
Yeah.
Wow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. First time it's ever happened where every seed has advanced to the next round in the NBA playoffs. So that shows you that, in my mind, the NBA has actually gotten what they've always wanted, which is parity. And it's been hard to get there because they're the haves and the have-nots in the NBA. And for a change, the have-nots have caught up a bit.
All right, the Eagle with us here on the show. How solid? I mean, it just continues to amaze that at one time, our expert basketball analyst, Mike Lubitz, was in favor of drafting Justice Winslow over Devin Booker. And that seemed like a very solid opinion after the Clippers series when Booker averaged like 45 a game and was sensational at both ends of the court. All right, one final thing. Can you touch on, I mean, everybody thinks that the Philadelphia Eagles have cemented their position as the favorite to win the Super Bowl this year by annexing the Georgia Bulldogs as a minor league team. Is that legal? And then second, I don't know how much of the draft or how involved you were with this. I mean, I would imagine you were, interested in the coverage. What level of sincerity would you rate Roger Goodell's hugs of the 31 guys that were selected in the first round?
Let me take the first question first, and that would be yes, it is legal. It is.
Okay.
Legal.
Yeah.
We do see teams that fall in love with certain college teams, and it's happened with Alabama. Teams will just flood the market and just take Alabama player after Alabama player and just assume these guys are ready for the NFL, and oftentimes they are. Philadelphia, they've been very strategic. Howie Roseman, give that guy a lot of credit. He has a great feel for the dramatic, and he also knows how to build a team. And any of the behind-the-scenes footage, I don't know how much of it you've seen, but he's very good at this, and he knows what he's doing, and he's got a human touch, and even dealing with the players. There was a late-round pick that didn't appear that he was going to get drafted, and Roseman's on the phone with him and tells him that he's going to be a Philadelphia Eagle, and had a dramatic pause and allowed the kid to start crying.
Yeah.
It was the realization of a dream, and there's a human touch there. Like Howie, I must salute what he's done with his career and how he continues to do it year in and year out. And they've been really smart and prudent in how they use their picks and how they gather picks and how they make trades. He's the most active of anybody in the NFL in terms of trades and getting talent back that fits a need. DeAndre Swift, that fits a need. And he recognized the market. He got in there. And I don't even think he gave up all that much to do it. So first part of it, yes, Philadelphia's got a chance to be good for a long time. Jalen Hurts is very dedicated to his craft, and as long as he can stay healthy, he's still a runner. And we know that in this league, if you put yourself out there, someone is going to try to take a shot at you. So that would be my one concern with him. For Goodell, what started out as kind of a little funny aside has turned into something more. It's amazing that these guys, I think they want their moment. They want that picture. They want that memory. And it actually, to me, has been pretty cool that there is that level of excitement and celebration for these young guys realizing their dream. And Goodell happens to be a part of it at this point.
I would imagine, I know you got to run, but if it ever comes to Miami or Tampa or Jacksonville, Ron DeSantis will have some law making it illegal for these two men to hug on stage. That'll be. He's already working on Congress with that.
Let's wait on that one.
Yeah,
because some would say that might be the over that you just hit. For
I think we got it.
For your original
He
pick.
did it.
Yes.
He did it.
You've been a sport, Ian, and always great. We'll enjoy your call of the game tomorrow on TNT. The Knicks and the Miami Heat. A very critical game here in the Heat's quest to make it even further into the offseason and what is a Cinderella ride right now. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much for being with us.
All right, Defo, I'm going to have a Sabret hot dog.
Thibodeau could be that guy you discover there,
Yeah.
where it's some relative that you haven't seen in years. You're like, Uncle Joey, what are you doing selling hot dogs on the street?
Exactly. I'm going to come through the Lincoln Tunnel.
Yeah.
I'm going to get out of the car and start walking to find the right guy with the car.
He just looks up at you and says, onions? And you're like, what is this, raftery also? I mean, get out of here. All right, thanks. Appreciate
All right,
it.
Defo, Lubie, all the best. See you.
Always a pleasure. Iron Eagle, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that was fun. Great being with you. We'll see you very shortly here, about a couple of hours and a half from now with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. A little recap of what happened at the stream yesterday. And a lot of good things coming up. You got... the Kentucky Derby, right? Derby parties are going to be hosted. I don't recommend that anybody makes a mint julep unless they come up with some kind of variation, no?
Nah, mint julep sucks.
Worst drink ever conceived, I believe. Yeah.
It's horrendous.
Just an absolute abomination. And I don't know, do they really love it or do you just have to like it?
No, they don't like it. They bitch about it. It's their thing.
Who the hell was going to go and order one, right? It's a horrible drink. I mean, the first taste is like dishwater. Get it out of here. All right. Thanks to all of our guests, Dave Hyde, Iron Eagle, and joining us earlier, Brett Tessler, the Agent of the Stars. A lot of fun, Lubie, and great things to discuss. And figures, we got a couple of more weeks of action here, at least.
Yes, sir.
Out of both of the local teams, so that's going to be very inspiring and keep us going and relevant. So always a lot of fun, as these would normally be the dog days of summer about to be on the horizon, and even the Marlins are completing sweeps and sitting there at 16-13 when we thought that they would be mathematically eliminated by now, and we get to the beginning of May. All right, the epiphany begins here, Libby. The complete. What would it be? Renovation of a Soul. So it'd be the title of the book. And, May 1st, I have till July 5th to get this all together. So that's it. There's a deadline in place. We'll see you at 12 o'clock with Mike Mayo and the Mike Mayo Lunchbox Show. Very proud of Mayo for getting up and making that speech before we got our thing underway. That was very nice of him. And we had some good people out there yesterday. It was fun at Gulfstream Park. Thanks again to Joe Bezier for putting that together. And we'll see you at 12 o'clock as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 9:28.
Woo!
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.